Been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it. Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutspodcast.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Give Up the Ship podcast. This is episode 100 and something. I forgot to look. Today I'm talking to Damo from Permission to Speak Freely podcast fame, and just a dope dude, senior chief out there doing the damn thing still. And we kind of, we connect on a lot of things. We like talking to each other. It'll be obvious if you listen to all or most of this podcast. But also just like we connected over my MCPON memo reviews on some of the stuff, and he mentioned wanting to talk about it. And the only reason it took this long is because he was in the middle of a PCS and getting settled at a new C command. So he just needed to kind of get his feet under him and get his hands around all that stuff, and then got in for the podcast, and then a bunch of technical issues. With the processing after the fact. Like the audio turned out pretty great, like pretty standard. And then I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube, I figured it out, but like I don't know if there's going to be a video yet. I got to get into the video editing still, and as I'm recording this, I haven't done it, and see what the audio quality is going to look like, because I had to use backup recordings because the primary ones didn't work for whatever reason. It was just a glitch, and the tech people with the service I used they were just shrugged at me like they like, oh, sorry. So I at least got the audio version out, so I'll take it, like I'm still kind of pissed, but whatever. But hopefully I get the video out as well today. And then we got into a lot of Chief season stuff. So he some of the criticisms I had of the Chiefs season, he kind of vibed with and wanted to get into, and we don't agree on everything, but like we align on a lot of it, and we got into a discussion of a lot of those things, and then some of our personal experiences, like how we conducted ourselves and why we believe what we believe about what needs to change, and what can either stay the same or be preserved in the revision or whatever. So yeah, man, it was super fun to talk to him. It always is. Like, he's a super intelligent dude that has, like a different perspective, if not the same. And then he's just a sounding board for certain things. And he challenges me, he pushes me on a lot of stuff. So, it's always fun talking to Damo, and, I really hope you all enjoy this. Check it out. So I've been getting inundated with shit from listeners, and I'm cursing now, by the way, just like public service announcement. So like, don't even worry about any of that shit anymore. I just snapped on that one about the mental health of my LS1, and like since then I've just like, I'm like, fuck it. Like, clearly the establishment doesn't want anything to do with me. Like, I was kind of like leaving the door cracked open for like the MCPON or whoever that if they ever wanted to like connect and like actually make some meaningful change somehow. I was like trying to leave the door cracked open, but they just slammed that shit shut. So I'm just like, all right, fuck you. Like, I'll just do whatever I want now. Yeah. And it is what it is. But yeah, I've been getting inundated by chief selects. Some chiefs are definitely talking to me because of the MCPON memo, like debrief ones that I'm doing or whatever. I think I call them reviews. I went back and forth because I forgot what I called this. So one of them's called a debrief. Yeah. The other ones are called reviews, but it's the same shit. But, I'm like getting a ton of selects just going like, dude, I'm having such a hard time like giving a shit about any of this, or like I'm having such a hard time finding meaning in anything that's happening, and are looking for me to like explain it to them. And the problem is I can't. Right. Yeah. Like, I already have to the extent I'm capable. But like what I mean, they want like an answer that is going to satisfy them, and there isn't one. And that's why it's broken. You know what I mean? Like I keep getting the, and this is, I'm attributing this like kind of the opposite of the generational like excuse a lot of Chiefs use for why their junior sailors don't get it and don't perform at the level they should. They're like, oh, this generation is just lazy and stupid. And it's the opposite. You don't understand them because they're fucking smarter than you. And so like these selects are questioning everything, not because they're like this undisciplined, immature generation, but because they're smarter than you and they see right through this shit. And they're looking at you like you're stupid when you provide them with an answer like you're being asked why, right? The common thread, and I know you're going to start nodding as soon as I start saying this shit, is, oh, we're intentionally putting you under stress so that we can see what you do when you get overwhelmed and how you prioritize tasking and whether or not you're willing to say no or ask for help, right? And rely on the mess and all this shit. But then like and then old reliable, like you'll understand later, you know, like you'll get it later. Yeah. Like you'll understand the pointed barbs and all that shit in your first year as a chief. And so it's like there's all these like cookie cutter vague go-tos that all these chief selects are like, this is bullshit. Like they suspect but are not fully convinced of what's true, which is there is no fucking objective. Like there's nothing behind the curtain pulling the strings. Like it's just chaos. And so it's like there are well-run chief seasons. There are anomalies out there. There are people doing it correctly and some semblance of everything in between. But like the vast majority of the time, the chief season is a big time suck on everybody, not just the selects, but also the chiefs. So it's like, it's a secondary priority for the chiefs, whether they'll admit that or not, because they have a primary duty and a family usually and all kinds of other shit they have to do. Yeah. So it's like what ends up happening is, there's some planning, there's some loose structure, but usually there's a lot of miscommunicating. There's a lot of who's in charge of what now. And like, what are we doing? Like, where do we have to meet up? And then the location changes 5 times and 90% of the mess doesn't even show up for any of this shit anyway. Yeah, so man. So it's just like, it's chaos in a lot of ways. And the meaning that they're searching for largely isn't real. And so I'm just getting all these selects just like inundated me with messages about like what does it all mean? And I'm like, I wish I had better news, but it doesn't mean, all it means is they don't have a fucking plan. Like that's why I harp on it being formalized, is like there just aren't learning objectives tied to everything. There is no solid framework for it all to be built on, which I don't just think is necessary so that we have that, like those guidelines and just that operating area, right? Like we have something to focus on, but I also think it's super necessary because everybody's so busy and because it's like a secondary priority for the people facilitating it. It's like, if you just could like, oh yeah, just pull the binder out. Right. Yeah. And like, here's what we're doing essentially. And you just kind of have to build the 20% that's specific to your warfare community and platform and whatever. Yeah. But like the rest, it's all there already. And you already know this is what we're teaching to. Right. Yeah. But yeah, man, like, I'm wondering how, like what your feelings and thoughts are on it. Like, I don't know if you're as far to the dark side as me, but like, I just like, fuck, man, I'm so frustrated, and I know some of my becoming more and more frustrated, and I'm trying to balance it, is because I'm retired and removed from it. The only perspective I'm getting is from these people communicating their negative experiences to me. Yeah. So it's like I'm sure there's plenty of good happening, and I've gotten a couple of positive stories too. I just like, I'm looking at it through the lens of my actual experience doing it. But then now, I mean, I've been retired for a year and I'm not really playing this year. Like I don't feel like I want to be around it. Ariana wants me to be out there, and I'm just like, I might show up for pinning, but I'm not going to be at final night and stuff, just because like I don't have the energy for that shit right now. I don't feel because I feel like some shit would go sideways and then I'd flip the fuck out and be, you know what I mean? And I'm a guest and I'm retired. Like, I'm the old retired guy. It's like, dude, shut up. So like,
when you did do it, right? When you did do it though, did you do it like, did you play like a role, or were you just you?
Well, both, I would say. Like, I was always running the season because of what I saw happen. So like, the first year I was a chief, obviously I was just kind of there, and that was deliberate too. It wasn't just like I see some chiefs kind of slide into assistant roles and stuff and help out with running the season. And my cob was very deliberately like, you are fucking like a window furnishing. Like, you're a fucking fly on the wall. I don't want to hear a word out of you during anything, because this is your opportunity to learn how to be a chief on the other side of it. It's almost like it was almost like a second part of the induction or initiation season for us. And so he was very like deliberate about making sure that we were like receiving during those things so that we knew what we were doing in the future. But then the year after that, I ran it, and pretty much every year till I retired, there was maybe 2 years total. Like, cause I think the very last year I was on active duty, I didn't do it. I helped the girl out, but like I was like going to get a surgery before I retired and all this other shit. So I just kind of like handed all my stuff to, this other chief and like, just come get me if you need anything, but I'm not going to be the guy.
Yeah. But did you,
and then I think there was one, go ahead.
Did you do anything? So what I mean by play a role is like, did you like change who you are, your personality? Did you have like a,
oh no,
okay,
fuck no. I'm me all the time, man. And a little bit of that change was gradual, because at the beginning, when I'm a young boot chief, still figuring it out, there was that like compulsion to like, conform, like to be part of the team and do what they're doing. But also I was in a weird place. Like, so I talk about that mess that I made chief in. It was really unique. It was like, I call it like Chief University. Like, these dudes were like all the anomalies that I talk about being everywhere. But like to be on that special projects platform, you all have to volunteer to be there. You can't just get detailed there. So it's like, these are all the people that like raised their hand and said, yeah, I want to go to do the hardest possible thing there is in submarining. Everybody. And so it was like, it's fucking crazy. It was a very senior, like top heavy senior mess. And then they were just amazing. They just, so like me watching them do it, like they weren't playing a part, you know what I mean? Like they weren't playing a role in that, like their behavior didn't change. Like the only thing I saw was their like focus became more intense on making me better. It's not like that was always passively there with these guys as they went about doing their normal jobs, right? Because that's just part of being a good chief. But then it's like the volume got maxed out on that dial, you know what I mean? Like where they were just hyper focused on me and the other selects and like making sure we were developing and doing the things correctly. But like, and there was some shit that happened that I didn't think should like go the way that it did. And then we definitely got fucked with. It's not like it was 100% perfect or pure or anything like that, but they did a way better job than what I saw like subsequent seasons do. So like, I would say I kind of got taught the closest thing to a right way the first time, like when I went through it. And then I got to watch on the other side. And they made a point, like, shut up and listen and pay attention to what's happening here. And then after the selects would walk out, the Cobb and they would kind of like do Chiefs training with us. Like, okay, what happened there? Why did that happen? And we would talk about it. And so they really did have a deliberate and like thought out process and like an understanding of why we're doing the things. I don't think all the things were right, but like they were like the construct was there. You know what I mean? Like they were very focused on developing us properly. So yeah, man, I would say like I got lucky in that regard, but like there was a little bit of that. It took me a while to shake it away. Like I would let them do like the charge book, like spiel to like get a charge book entry like the first year or two. But then I dispensed with that shit pretty quick because it made me uncomfortable. And I thought it was like, I'm like, what's the point? Like, fuck, I need every single solitary second I can get to try to develop you during the 6 weeks, because it's like game on pinning, bro. Like you're fucking, as soon as you got these anchors on, you're chief and the training wheels are off. So it's like, I need every second. So I was just trying to peel away barriers to my doing that. And so like everybody would say I was spoon feeding and like, they try to doing it for them. And, like, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing the shock and awe bullshit that distracts from actually developing these people. Like this should be like an intensive finishing school for stuff we already taught them, but it can't be that because we're not doing enough leading up to the chief season. So now we're like cramming for the test essentially. So it's like, I'm not doing all this other stupid shit and like letting them figure it out. And then we're in like week 4 of the season and everybody's like, oh God, they're such a shit show. It's like, yeah, but why? Like, why are they a shit show? Because you're fucking doing it wrong. And so I'm just like, I have no patience for any of that playing a role bullshit. But that, like you bringing that up is important because like that's what I'm getting from these selectees, man. It's like I've gotten a lot of like from more than one, like the specific comment about like how either during the season or before the season, they would interact with these chiefs and they were cool and they were normal. And we would have like basic human interactions that were respectful and like productive. And then like, as soon as I have a selectee name tag on, it's like they're playing this fucking part like of this hostile person that like wants to ostracize me or like make me feel separate from this group, which like counterproductive, because that's the whole fucking point, is to get them to like understand that they're a chief now and like developing them. Yeah, I mean, and welcome them in. So it's like, we spend the whole like meet the mess is like the first like fuck you, you're not a chief yet. And it's like, why is that how we start? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. I got
a lot of opinions about it. I will say that I really don't play the role though. I'm just me through the whole thing.
Which that doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah. And normally, like when I sit with the selects, you know, and they talk about getting charges from me, I normally like give them a charge in like what they're up against, right? Because they up against, you know, like I know, like you get DMs, you get all this stuff. You see you on Reddit, so they up against like just a lot of young sellers that really don't trust the mess. Like I see more about not trusting the mess than I see about trusting the mess, right? So when I'm talking to selects, you know, I'm like we need you. You know what I'm saying? Like we need you. You just came from
100%.
You just came from right there. You just came from talking to E5s, you know, E4s, whatever. We need you to be you. Don't change you. You know, so that's a lot of that conversation.
That's a great point to make too, man. Because like I've been using like I kind of over the 11 years I was a chief in uniform, I like distilled everything down to this one page charge that like if I don't know the sailor personally, like I get a lot of those through the podcast, like where they're a listener, but like I don't know anything about them. They're just asking for a charge from me. So like I have this like canned one that I just put their name on, but it's like all the best stuff that I can think of to share can distill down into like one page. But then but like it hasn't evolved a lot, and like that is like probably one of the more important points to make nowadays is like, because those people I described that are the selects that are so frustrated, it's like, I don't want you to conform. I don't want you to change. Like, and I know the whole chief season is built in this way that makes you feel like you're supposed to change.
And perform and be performative and all that.
Yeah. Like fake it till you make it kind of shit. Like, and I felt that the whole first year I was wearing anchors, I was like, I didn't feel like a chief. And I think that might have been part of it, was like, there is this performative nature to like what a lot of chiefs are doing. And like, I think it can be constructive if you're doing it in a way that is like designed to make you an objectively better leader for the people you're leading. Like, and I know this sounds like a stretch, but my for example is like, I'm a naturally introverted person, like, and a lot of people think I'm full of shit when I say that.
Yeah, me too. I do the same shit.
I'm a very, if you leave me to my own devices, I will barely leave the house. I will like I don't like calling people. I don't like texting's always the move because it's so detached and impersonal. It's like, I am very introverted, but I like realized if I'm doing this, for me to best take care of my people, I need to like learn these skills. And so it's like, I have this like learned extroversion, you know, where I like just developed this muscle where like, I hate conflict, man. I hate it, but I'll do it if I need to. And I learned how to do it and I got really good at it. And I have this loud booming voice. And like, so like people just assume I'm this like aggressive extroverted dude. And it's like, no, man, I just learned all this shit. I really did just develop this as out of necessity because I just saw what I view, and I could be wrong because I often champion like there are different personalities out there and you can learn to be like an authentic, trusted leader with your own, like without changing your personality and how you present. So it's like, I probably could have done it differently, but at the time in my mind, I'm looking at like, okay, what's like the leadership ideal that I'm like trying to attain. And the best ones I saw were these like, you know, like Buzz Lightyear characters, like what you would like paint a meme of like a transformational leader. So I'm like, oh, I got to be that. And so I started striving for that. And I think I accomplished some of it, at least on the surface level, like how I present to people. So I think there's like parts of it that can be productive, but like, I don't think it's necessary. Because like, I guess I did a lot of that because I thought I had to at the time. And now I understand that differently. And I don't think I really needed to do that so much.
I mean, but we live in, you know, we live and we learn, you know what I mean? Like, and that's where like growth and development kind of gets us to where we finally get to our late 30s or we like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is me. This is who I'm gonna be. And this just whether you like it or not. Right. But like a couple things back to the Chiefs season, I want to talk real quick. I think we're in limbo, man. You know, and I talked to Damon about it on a pod, like on our pod a lot. Like, it's a group of people where, you know, right before the Chiefs season, and I'm going to say as much as I can say without saying certain stuff in respects to the Chiefs that's out there, right?
Yeah, you're still on active duty. I get it, man. I did that with myself a lot where I was like, I have some feelings that I could take a lot farther, but it doesn't feel appropriate or professional because I'm still in
then there's Chiefs out there that's just get like upset about shit. So, but so the first part is like, you know, you get like you're seeing a lot of CMCs now, they giving like that brief, like, hey, this what you these are the things that the season is not about. This what we should be doing. This what boom. So then you got people, you got people like me, and you brought it up in a pod, and I think we're gonna get to it a little bit later. You got people like me that's like, if the leadership is telling me something, I'm a sponge. I'm gonna soak that shit in and I'm gonna follow it, right? Yeah. so now I'm following what leadership's saying, but then you got this other group that that probably don't know what to do, right? So they don't even know how to present during the season. Then you got another group that just been in for a while, been in the game for a while, and just going to do whatever it is that, like, all the shit that CMC just said don't do. You might have this group that's just doing it. You're
they're going to back in the day, 5 minutes ago when I made Chief. Like they were around in the 40s. Like, shut the fuck up.
And you're like, damn, I thought they just said it wasn't about shock and awe. Like, you know, but you know, so then you got it. And I think when you put all that together, you do kind of the mission statement gets muddy.
I think you're right. Like, and I almost think those second two groups are one group. Like,
it is.
There's just this one group that doesn't get it and doesn't get on board with it either. And it could be for various reasons. Like, one, it might just be like incompetence, like vanilla incompetence. And the other one, I think it's like, it's an incompetence demonstrated by like you were saying, like they have this stupid like understanding of what it is. And it's like this old school, like, oh yeah, not about shock and awe. CMC, we got you. Like, you know, and it's like, no, stop winking at me. I'm serious. Like,
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Did anything ever happen during the season you went through that you didn't even understand? Well, like as a chief, after you made chief, that you didn't even get like you never had that moment like, I don't even understand why the hell we did this just now.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why I was running the season most of the time. Like, so, because we did a bunch with a naval recruiting district because we were on a remote learning site when I was at the A school. And so like I was like running it for our learning site, but when it would join up with the recruiting district to do stuff, like they're huge, right? So they kind of dominated what we were going to do, you know what I mean? And like the people directing how it was going to happen and stuff like that. And at the time I wasn't the SEL either. So like my SEL just thought this was the move. I think he was wrong and we never did it. Like we stopped doing it after I took over, but yeah, it was a lot of like shock and awe for no reason. Like it was directionless. Like it was legitimately just like a bunch of like chiefs with no warfare pins, like just rubbing the select's face in it just for the sake of rubbing their face in it. You know what I mean? It was like, and I remember, so my buddy, shout out to Jerome Nurse, he's a command master chief now, but he was a NC senior chief, like a career recruiter. He was part of that community, but he was like one of the few career recruiters that I thought really like got it. You know, like he understood, like he cared about people and wanted to be a good leader, and he was really open to like learning and stuff. And so he gravitated to me, but like I remember during one of those trainings when the shit was just like all the way off the rails. And it was like, and I thought about like freaking out and just face fucking all these chiefs in front of the selects, but like all that would have degenerated into like, if not a brawl, like nothing productive would have come of it. So I was just sitting there. I started taking like notes during the trainings, and I was like writing down like what not to do when I'm the guy. Like, because when I'm the CMC and I got 51% of the vote, I'll just eviscerate that room if that's what's going on, right? But at the time, I don't even know if I was a senior chief yet. So, like, it's not my place. Like, I'm, just the guy, and I have an SEL that clearly doesn't give a shit. So I'm just, like, taking notes, like, when I'm the guy, these are the things I'm not going to do, and this is why they're bad. And, just, like, it was kind of my way of dealing with it without freaking out. And then Jerome came and sat next to me. He goes, bro, what are you writing? I was like, I'm taking notes. So he goes, I'm what? Like, cause it's a shit show. Like, what? I'm not learning anything from this. I'm like, oh, what not to do when I'm a CMC. And he goes, holy shit, that's a great idea. Yeah, man. And I was like, yeah, man, like this isn't what this is supposed to be. And we would have a bunch of conversations about that. And he was one of the few that actually got it, but he was just like, I don't know. It had to be like how he was raised, and like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't get that from being a career recruiter. Yeah. Like, that dude was like, he's a fucking national treasure, man. I love that dude. And so like, I hate him because he's built like a fucking G.I. Joe. Like, Jerome is built that's like a familiar name, bro. Like, Jerome Nurse, yeah, you might have seen his name out there. He looks like fucking Genuine at the beginning of his career, but like on steroids. Yeah. That's what Jerome looks like. Okay. He is a handsome devil, and he is built like a shit brick house, but like he's got like a 28-inch waist, but his shoulders are like fucking this. Yeah, it's Johnny like nobody Bravo. Should look that good. So it's rude. I got two messages for the selects. I got two of them though. For anyone that's in your inbox, my first one is training. So I harp on training. So when the selects in my group, when they see me raise my hand, they know it's serious. Yeah. Like, and a lot of the programs I learned or studied just working on my SEL package are going through it, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing for me is training. And I think for training as a select, you need to pull from multiple sources, right? Don't just go to the chief that's holding the collateral, right? I'm gonna be straight up. A lot of these dudes don't know. A lot of these people don't know what the hell they doing. Open the instruction. Yeah, a lot of them don't know what the hell they doing. Or haven't been to the school. Yep, and they telling you best practice or something that they did. Right. So make sure. So if you do go to them, maybe get some experience, something that happened with them. But then go through your mill pers, mans, go through all your go to the book. Yeah, go to the books, go through your instructions, go to multiple sources to prep your training. Don't just because I see it a lot. Like selects come into training and they get like they might have a semio thing and they went to the current semio and the current semio made them look like shit in front of the Chiefs mess. Yeah. And then it's another semio that wasn't the current semio that knew what the hell they was doing. Bodies them at training because they actually know the book. Yeah, and you see their eyes looking at the current semio like, damn, they ain't on the same page. Right. So really? So y'all need to go to the book and everything else. So that's my first point. And then my second point is this. I got everything I needed. Everything that I needed out of my season, I got it. Right. The challenge that I needed, I got it. So for this my spin, and it might sound fairy tale-ish, but do the season, do it for yourself. Get the most that you could get out of it. Yeah. I think that it tugs at what it needs to tug at for the people that it need to tug at it for. I too have had, so me, for instance, I was like straight by the book and some other shit. And a lot of people, they don't know the book. So when you get up there and you buy the book, they gonna be like, well, what if it ain't a book? Yeah, that's because y'all don't know the damn shit. So I was challenged there, like to think on my feet, to make decisions that I might not see in black and white. Those were some of the things that I got challenged with in my season. So I always tell them that, like, you could get something out of it. But I too, man, I had a select come to me this year, man. Like, hey, what am I supposed to get out of this? I had a select actually have that conversation with me, like face to face. It's like, I don't think it's everything that I thought it would be. I'm like, man. I don't blame them. And I think this is where people get confused with me. Cause like, I think they're like generally is value to the Chiefs season because shared adversity is an important experience. And I think you can I think you can do a lot and build a lot through that process. I just think it needs to be formalized because it doesn't have direction a lot of the times. Like it's done haphazardly and without like clear and concise learning objectives a lot. Like people are just like rinsing and repeating what they've seen before. And it's like, yeah, but like, why are you doing it? Like, explain it to me.
Yeah.
Because most people can't or they'll give you one of those like vague arbitrary answers about like learning how to ask for help or whatever. And it's like, how many times do we need to reinforce learning how to ask for help? There's a lot of other shit that goes into this.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think it's bad. I don't want to see it entirely deleted, but like it has to change. And I think that these conversations we're having with these selects are like kind of like the demand signal, I guess, like that this isn't working anymore. I don't know that it ever really worked in the best possible way, but like you're saying, like I got something out of my season. I didn't enjoy it while it was happening, but I learned a lot. And some of it was learning from a negative example, and some of it was the opposite. And I think I was in a high performing mess. So like I got a pretty good experience, even though most of it was at sea. So that like they're more distracted than normal because we're out there operating this like special project submarine. It's a big deal that we don't screw that up. Yeah. So that's always going to come first. Right. But like, yeah, man, I got something out of it for sure. I guess my biggest sticking point is like, because we don't do enough leading up to that point, it's effectively all we have, right? So it's like, it's so important to get as much like mileage out of that as we possibly can, that I don't understand why we spend so much time doing just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, because I mean, I was around and you probably were too. When we were doing fucking fundraising and all this.
Yeah, man. I was like, one of the last fundraisers, man. And that was the whole season.
And they were trying
that was our whole season, man.
Oh, so you can get to know the Chiefs and shit. It's like, no, it's not. It's so you can have a dope khaki ball. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it was
don't lie to me.
Yep.
Like, this is for fucking khaki ball. Shut up,
man.
So like,
yeah, man. Somebody recently asked me I forgot what I was about to say about it. I know I got regrets. Select regrets. And some of that had to do with going through the motions, trying to get the most of things and trying to, do things like that.
Same.
It was something I was thinking about, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. But I think that just this whole idea right now of anything that we're doing as far as chief leadership and stuff like that, in my opinion, and based off things that I read, is it's like we get set somewhere with no fucking tools and we got to just figure it out. You know what I mean? And if we're not okay figuring it out, then we not good. Like we not like good chiefs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, let me get some tools. Let me get these wrenches. Let me get this. Like I can make this car work if you get. I see the frustration every day from even like JOs. Like it's like, man, like they sent me here, they got me doing this, but I have no resources. But I got to make this work. You know what I'm saying? I got to make this work. If I don't make it work, I'm gonna shit. Yeah. You know, so it's
right. I'm the shitbag.
Yeah. Oh,
and it's like.
I remember what I was going to say. So this is what I was going to say. A select asked me, they was like, hey, senior, how come sometimes it seemed unorganized? Right? There's how come sometimes it seemed unorganized? I was like, cause sometimes it is, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everybody show up to organizational meetings, man. And I tell people, I'm like, you practically going into the mess, the Chiefs mess with the same people that you was in the first class mess with. It's the same people. Yeah. It's the same humans. They got the same temperaments.
Right.
And what I mean by that is when you get in there, it's going to be alphas in that group. It's going to be people that don't want to do shit in that group. It's going to be people that's envious in that group. It's the same group of people. It's no different.
Yeah. It's the same people with the same like interpersonal relationship problems.
Same shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Does it sound like
I'm frustrated? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, does it sound like we hate the season? Because I don't like.
And that's like what I'm struggling with is like, because I'm not in it anymore and I don't get to see the positives as often. It's like I'm reliant upon memories and stuff.
Yeah. So it's changing
and it's
a
like
little.
They're there. It's just, I hope it's changing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's because my inputs are primarily people interfacing with me through the podcast. I mean, some of these people are people I know in real life as well, but it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, it seems like it's getting worse, but I don't think the process is getting worse. I just think it's becoming less effective because of the people that are now trying to go through it. Like, I just think the model doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, man.
And it's because these kids are smarter than us, but they have different, like a different level of need and understanding. And it's like a lot of these selects that I'm talking to already have a high level of competency when you're talking about like leadership development and like emotional intelligence and a lot of these things, like talking to Desiree about moral, and I always forget
courage, moral courage.
No, humility, moral humility. She was talking about, I shared this TED talk that she sent it to me. And it was about moral humility and basically like the understanding that even though you believe yourself to be a moral person and behave in a moral way based on that morality, there are circumstances that can lead to you doing something that is objectively immoral, that you could analyze as like, that was a bad thing that I just did. And it had bad effect, like objectively bad effects on people. It doesn't make you a bad person so long as you're able to have the moral humility to like recognize that thing and then do something about it. Right. And so the guy was talking about all those things and like, and I've heard it articulated different ways in the past, but like the first time I've heard it talked about as like its own idea and with a name attached of moral humility. But like, just the fact that she's talking about that and has the like self-awareness to recognize, because she told me, she's like, holy shit, I don't have moral humility. And it's like, yeah, but like the fact that you're even open to the idea of moral humility and, oh, by the way, we're able to like analyze yourself and be like, oh shit, I need to work on this, is like it's such a huge deal for your ability to function as a strong leader when you get to pinning day. And it's like, some of these people are so fucking far beyond any of the people that I ever saw go through the season.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I saw some strong first classes get selected as chiefs that were really like high performing, really smart, already like leading better than some of the chiefs that I worked with. But like, it's not even just like that part of it. Because those were like some of the people I'm thinking of. It was just like, they were just good people that like, I don't know, like learned from somewhere that this is how you treat people. This is how you like motivate people. And so they just had kind of like some of the characteristics and they happened to like translate to leadership really well. Yeah. Just like the emotional intelligence stuff. Like they were just good people that wanted to take care of their underlings, right? It was like a couple of them were moms, so I'm sure some of that was just from like being a mom. Like, these are my kids. And so there was like a certain things like that I think just translated well, but like it wasn't a high level of like academic competency, like can like actually articulate and understand these like concepts and tools. And now it's like there's a lot of the people that I have like the highest level, like the highest reading level leadership conversations with are first classes. Yeah. Like almost all, honestly, like are the ones that are calling me or emailing me or texting me about like books and articles and TED Talks and all this shit. It's like all first classes or second classes.
You know, I feel bad. Sometimes I feel bad for those people, man. You know what I'm saying? Just out of like I remember I had an EM3 and you know, when she came into the Navy, I'm like, hey, this is how you do PQS. I'm showing her like how many weeks it take to get to PQS. I'm showing her Alpha, Bravo, Delta, like all the steps, like the exact process. You do the hundreds first, boom, boom, boom. And then like one day my EM2 had an issue where he had to go humanitarian and something was wrong with his wife, personal thing. So now my EM3, she was in the duty section and she had to get this qual. She had to quit and get it. And it was like, we had like a 48-hour turnaround where it's like, yo, she got to be qualified or else his issue with the humanitarian can't. So now me and my Divo, and, you know, in the office with her, she like, hey, Chief, I never thought, and I might have talked about this before, but she like, hey, Chief, like, I thought you said it was going to take 3 weeks and this and that. And I had to just hit her with that. Yeah. shit ain't everything that you think it is. Like, we got to get you
Yeah.
qual, you know? And I always feel, you know, and I always feel bad. And, you know, and she got it's like she kind of knew to watch and was ready for it. There's a couple things that she needed help with.
Yeah.
But I always feel for those people that expect like purity and then they get like smacked in the face with the, it's not like that. It's a little
this
fucked
is what
up.
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Because
dude, I had that happen at the beginning of my like military career. Basically, like I had this real romanticized vision of what the military was going to be.
Yeah,
and like I was ready for that, and I think I probably would have made a better Marine because there's something about like the formality and the structure and the very like the pride they have in being Marines that I think I would have fit better in that culture. Mm-hmm. But like when I remember being so disappointed when I excelled in the training pipeline. Like boot camp was a shock. So like I kind of flew under the radar in boot camp, but then A school and sub school, I was like top of my class, honor grad, all that, winning all the awards and shit. And it's because then they're treating it like that's my idea of what the military is. So like it made sense to me. I understood where the lines are and how I have to color inside of them. And I could okay, I can do that. Like I can do exactly what you need me to, and I'll excel in all those areas. But then when you get to the fleet, it's just like, yeah, all that shit you just learned, just like that's all gone now. Don't fucking call me petty officer. Don't shipmate me. Stop shining your boots. You're making us look bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all like everything you just learned out the fucking window. And it's the same with like the Chiefs season, I feel like, where it's like, I was talking to Commodore Pittman about this the other day, where it's like you get whiplash because you probably average about a decade going into making chief. Maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe it's 11 or 12 years, but like I'm probably about a decade.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say we have this average 10-year period where the entire system, the enlisted career pass, the board precepts and convening letters, the way we do evals and awards, everything, it's all built in this web, like structured around individual achievement. Like how good are you at your job and all the tertiary jobs and quals and all that, but it's all individual achievement. And then the day you get selected for chief, like, it's not about you anymore. Like fucking get rid of all that programming. We just built you up and programmed you with all these things and reinforced all those things to condition you to understand that the organization values individual achievement. So I need to make myself the best individual performer that I can. And then as soon as they get selected, it's just that all gets data dumped. And I think that's where that like hard reset at the beginning of the season comes from, is they're just like, what the fuck is this? Like you just spent 10 years telling me to like get sailor of the year and qualify all these, do all this individual shit. Spent almost zero time talking about like being a good leader and taking care of my people. Like, do we like to see that at the Chiefs sport? And like, you were just there, like, so you can speak to this. I love seeing they were already acting as an LCPO, or I love seeing bullets written as my sailors did all this amazing shit as a result of my leadership. But that's pretty rare. Like most of what you get is individual achievement. Like they just want you to know they're an LPO in charge of all these people. And oh, by the way, I did all this other cool shit. Promote me now. And then you get those strong, like you can't ignore the EPs and the rankings and all that other stuff. So that's what gets them promoted. And if you think about it, we're promoting people to leadership positions based on criteria that have nothing to do with leadership. And like, is there like some like bleed over? Sure. Like, you know, like you're managing people and schedules and doing some stuff if you're an LPO, but like all the things we're evaluating them on more or less is individual achievement. And then I'm looking at all those individual metrics to promote you into a position where you're not concerned about your own individual metrics anymore. You're concerned about the performance of a group of people. Yeah. And so it's like, it doesn't make any fucking sense, man. And you get the hard reset and the confusion and the like, just, I don't know, the madness that is the Chiefs season. And that's why one of the other reasons why I think it's extremely unproductive is because of how we've structured it. You think, and it's like, but like you could, go ahead.
You think that issue is system based or culture based?
Both. I think the system drives the culture in a lot of ways, but like, I think like, so we have built the culture around that type of individual achievement. And also then subsequently built, for whatever inane reason, the culture of the Chiefs mess around the shock and awe whiplash type function that like I just talked about. So like, but I think it's Paul Kingsbury talks about this all the time, and I think he's very correct about it, even though there are some cultural things that won't change if you were to fix these things. There's just cultural things that need to change because the MCPON and the CNO are getting on the right page and then championing those things and like putting things in place to make the culture shift, like to force the function of, instead of, because like my issue with all his memos are like, you wrote a 1-page memo on it. Neat. Then what? Like, how are you going to enforce this? How are you going to make people accountable to like making what a chief is match with what you're communicating are your priorities and what we should be doing and all those things. But like, as far as like the ECPs, the board precepts and convening letters, all those things, if they, like Admiral Richardson was talking about deleting collateral duties because they were a time suck and a lot of them were pointless and we don't want promotion based on that.
Yeah.
But then he didn't fucking do anything. So it's like, if you don't change the enlisted career path and you don't change the board precepts and convening letter to reflect what we are actually promoting on, like that drives behavior. That's what Paul's always talking about. Like, he's like, it's cool. You're saying all these things like the MCPON's memos. There's some good stuff in there. Like, I'm critical of them for a lot of reasons, but his priorities are objectively good. My dogs are freaking out. My wife's probably home. Hang on. There's like I don't know, like a garbage truck or something outside. But, I'm just going to write down this time thing, so I don't want to edit that
probably had colors over here at some point. So.
That's all good. I probably do that. But yeah, man, like if you don't fix the system effect, like essentially, like, because even our eval system, I think, is a big part of it too. It's like, you can't say, like, I can't say that during this 1 year evaluation period, or I mean, I really think it should be broken up into smaller chunks, but like if I am evaluating on you on this year's performance, I can't say it was worse than last year's performance or I'll wreck your career for 5 years. Like, I can't be critical, but then still give you a rating of like 4.0 or 4 something and an MP and a decent ranking. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, I'm not allowed to be critical. I either have to say like nice things, more nice things, or really nice things. So it's like, it's fucking ridiculous. And so you can't, how am I supposed to communicate to a selection board who's ready to promote the chief and who's not? So then we create all these read between lines, like all this bullshit, like about like cryptic communication to the board based on how we write the block 43. And it's like, so the eval system's broken, the ECP and the precepts and convening letters broken. I don't think the selection board happens the way it's supposed to. So it's like, you got all these things, but like the thing that people have the most access to are those like governing documents to say, okay, like if I'm a go-getter, I'm going to go seek these things out and be like, okay, how do I get promoted? And so there's the advancement manual that explains how all that works. So they can like hack the advancement exams, get good evals, and then study, because you don't have to get all the answers right. You just have to be the smartest dumb kid in the room. Yep. So, because it's all graded on a curve, so you can get 80 points for an advancement exam without answering everything correctly. And I did it twice, so like it's not impossible. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So it's like you get to that point, and then to make chief, they start early. A lot of them, like when they're second classes or young first classes, they're looking ahead to like, okay, what do I have to do to make chief? So they're qualifying all the things, picking up the collateral duties, doing all that crap, because that's what the documents say. So the system is telling me these are the boxes you need to check to get to where you want to be. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, and we say that at the selection board. Like, if you go to like a 8 and 9 board for CSSs, if you're not qualified diving officer to watch, you will not make senior chief. So it's like, what does fucking diving officer to watch have to do with me being a senior chief? Yeah. The system decided that like a prerequisite for being a cob is being a senior chief. The normal career progression for a chief on a submarine, like your senior chief / master chief tour, is as a cob. So it's like, why would I make you a senior chief if you're not going to be a cob? But you have to be qualified dive and you have to be a senior chief to be a cob. So they're just like, oh, that's logical. Like, your next step is being a cob. So we're not going to make you a senior chief and pay you to be a senior chief until you're meeting those prereqs and trending towards being a cob. And so it's like, But what does that have to do with my ability to function as a senior chief and rate, which is really what you're promoting? Like the quotas aren't coming from like fucking how many cobs we need. You know what I mean? Like it's the whole system is broken in a way that I think is at a system level. Like I think that's the something that, there's something that like, I think that a big part of it is that, and that's probably the primary driver of a lot of that behavior and culture. I don't think fixing that would fix everything, but I think it'd be a giant leap in the right direction.
Yeah, man. I don't think we should be personally, right? I don't think we should be evaluated against our peers, man. I think like the evaluation should be like my wife's my wife get evaluations, but they're her evaluations. She's not like evaluated and ranked against other people. She's just kind of evaluated off of her performance that she did that year, you know, and
like,
what's up?
I'm evaluated against my peers as a chief though. So cause that's what I've always said to people about like how I was promoted.
Yeah.
Cause like I never got an EP on a submarine ever.
Damn.
Like, and it's cause I was a cook objectively. Like there were a couple of times where I should have, one of them was like, it wasn't even close. Like I was the EP. You could ask people that didn't fucking like me and they would have told you I was the EP.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I still got an MP because I was the cook chief. And it's like, but and this is the only reason I didn't freak out in the eval debrief and tell them they're all pieces of shit and I was filing a grievance. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, one, all I'm going to do is create a hostile work environment. But two, at the selection board, if I'm not getting a fucking EP on a submarine for all the shit I was doing, neither are anyone else. Like the people I'm competing against are from the same demographic. Like they're cooks. I'm not competing against all those people that I'm actually ranked against. And that's where like people's minds get twisted up about it. Like you're ranked against your peers, so you want to be the number one EP. I'm like, I mean, sure, kinda, but I'm not compared to those same people I'm ranked against at the selection board.
Yeah.
They don't get to see the whole peer group. They just see me.
Yep.
So if everybody else's eval is a strong MP, then my number one MP, he'd be an EP if we had more things and all that. And then all the meat in the write-up and stuff, I'm effectively the number one EP. You know what I mean? Like when you're comparing me to the competitive group I'm promoting from within, that's what really matters. So it's like, and you can't really like look that up anywhere, but like I can get a pretty good feel for it just being in the community for as long as I have. And it's like, I know, like, I mean, it's probably happened once or twice, but like cook chiefs ain't getting EPs on submarines. So it's just like, I don't need an EP at the selection board because I basically got a cook EP because I can't get over the hump just because they think my job's a joke.
Yeah. And
until
then
it's lunchtime.
And then to speak on what you spoke to earlier, I'm brand new to a command, right? And I'm day one, I started chiefing. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is. I felt weird saying chiefing with this Navy hat. Hey, for the listeners,
you are who you are out right now. You got the shirt and the hat. Like,
but so that like day one, like I'm doing chief shit, right? Leading sellers, trying to inspire, inspirational leadership, the shit that I choose to do. I'm about 2 months on board now, and now I'm like, oh shit. Like I also have all of these boxes that I need to fill just to like be some shit on the ship. Like I can't just chief. Like I can't just be a senior chief. I can't just inspire my sellers. I can't just run. Like, you know, so that point you're speaking on, it is all these other like obligations that like, okay, I have to get this qual. I gotta get in like some watch standard qual. I gotta get this. And all of it, because like the first thing I figure like I need to do is lead my sellers. Like that's when I look and I'm like, oh shit. My sellers need this. Like I need to bring this to the table. They inject this into the spirit and the heart of my division or whatever like that. But eventually it's like, oh shit, I gotta like slow down with this because I gotta go get qualified and shit that like on it. Like and I always say this, so it's not like a new thing, but I gotta go get qualified and shit that honestly, like for my personal self, don't interest me anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like personally, like none of these quals. I think we talked about it when I was on what you wanted other times, but personally, like not too many of these quals interest me any as much as the sellers, as much as like leading the sellers do. You know what I'm saying? But it's a part of the game. You know what I mean? If I go to another command, it's the same thing. So like when you were saying like, damn, you need this qual to make senior chief to go lead people. You know what I mean? My primary job now is even my billet now, I'm on a carrier. I got a chief that's like the production person. So I'm literally the the divisional leading chief. So my job is to lead sellers. But oh shit, no, I gotta go get these QA calls. I gotta go I still got all this other stuff to do, you know. It's a cycle, man. Continuous.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that like I don't know how you fix it entirely. Like I think there's a lot of stuff that you could remove. And I'm a big fan of I know the Marine Corps does it this way. I think Army and Air Force and probably Space Force as a result do it this way, but where there's a fork in the road at like the E7 level, I think, where you either go technical expertise or leadership. Basically.
I know Army for
so
sure.
like you go like the first sergeant route, or you go like the regular, like I'm going to stay in the technical realm and promote that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I don't understand why we don't do that as well. I know like it wouldn't be applicable at certain levels, like because submarines are small, so you're not going to have multiple chiefs in a division. So like, because you're not going to have like a production chief and a leadership chief in a division of 7 people. Like that's effectively like an LPO and a chief on a submarine.
Yeah.
But then like they could do it at the department chief level, but being a department chief on a submarine is like a collateral duty for most people, except for the nuke. They call it the engineering department master chief, even though they're usually senior chiefs. It's like they're like have a defined role and it's just as a department chief, but their department is like half the submarine crew. So it's like, it's a big job. Like they have LCPOs of the divisions and then they have the EDMC, but it's like the EDMC is like it's a lot. So they're kind of like the SEL of the engine room, but man, I don't know. Like there's something to be said for that fork in the road and the value that it could add by, like you'd need more people for sure, which, you know, I know they're not a fan of because it costs money, but you could probably accomplish it with a redefinition of roles and stuff. But.
Yeah, I had a civilian on my last episode. It's not out yet, actually, but he was in the Navy. Mm-hmm. He was in the Navy, retired. Mm-hmm. And he said his evaluations now are based off of goals that he set. So he sets the goal in the beginning of the year. And then at the end of the year, he's evaluated by if he hit the wickets that he wanted to hit and setting that goal. Okay. I like that. You know what I mean? I do
too.
Yeah. I don't know if the Navy could do it. Like we wouldn't do it exclusively, but let's say it was a pool of goals and objectives, like fucking 12 that you could pick from, and you pick 5 of them or whatever. All right. Out of these, like I want to do celerization. My focus is going to be celerization. My focus is going to be heritage, boom, boom, boom. And then at the end of the year, like, how'd you do? How'd you do in hitting these or whatever?
Yeah.
But, you know, that's.
I think it could be a really cool way to do like midterms. Instead of doing like the 3 up, 3 down kind of thing, do like, hey, this is how I evaluate you. And like, let's set some goals for the end of the year when we're doing your eval debrief and like see what you can accomplish in this time, blah, blah, blah. But like, it would all be oriented around like, cause those sailors aren't going to lose sight of like, what do I got to do to promote? So like, it's neat that you want me to work on my communication skills, but like, what do I need to promote? Like, I got to get this qual. I got to do this collateral. I got to do whatever. But man, I think like there's a lot of stuff I think could fix this problem. Like I was just talking to somebody the other day about the hellscape that is manning and retention right now. And just crazy, like man. How, well, and I was telling him, I'm like, dude, I bet you, I kind of called this, like kind of, I don't have proof that this is why it is where it is right now. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of other factors probably, but I called it when I was an A school instructor and they came out with the blended retirement system. I'm like, this is a fucking terrible idea. Not like if they would have left it elective, like you can pick one or the other. I think it would have been probably fine, but maybe not. It probably would have still had a negative effect, just not as big of one. But they effectively incentivize getting the fuck out of the Navy, and not just by that, right? Because like if post 9/11 GI Bill had been around when I was done with my first shore duty, I would have never stayed. I'd have been running for the hills, like give me that money, I'm out. Yeah, like, but I couldn't. That wasn't real, so I couldn't afford the school I wanted to go to, and some other personal shit happened, and I ended up staying in. But it by the post 9/11 GI Bill, they gave you a huge incentive to get out of the Navy. But then it got even better when they're like, oh, well, if you don't want to stay till 20, it's like they were trying to get people to not stay for a full career. Because then they're like, oh, well, you can just leave before then and you'll leave with a certain like retirement benefits up to that point, essentially. Like we're going to have this like TSP matching system or whatever it is. And so you're going to walk away with like something going forward that you can build on for retirement. So these kids are like, wait a minute, hang on. You're going to like prorate my pension so I can get out at 4 or 7 years or whatever. And I'm going to have like 7 years worth of a pension plan and the post 9/11 GI Bill. And if you're real savvy and you get 30% disabled or better, you can do the Chapter 31 benefits for vocational rehab through the VA, which is essentially a second, slightly better post 9/11 GI Bill.
Yeah.
So like, and you're getting VA compensation for whatever your disability rating is. So it's just like, why would anybody stay in? Like, you know what I mean? Like when it's as hard as it is right now. And so I like called it. I was just like, this is a terrible plan, because if there's no incentive to stay till 20 anymore, you're just all these people that would have been like, well, I'm halfway there. All those people are like, nah, fuck it, I'm out. Like I got this blended retirement shit. I got post 9/11 GI Bill. I got whatever I saved up to this point. Yeah, the college degree you paid for with Navy Cool or whatever, like, with tuition assistance.
Already finished school. Like I'm already finished.
Bro,
like,
there's like chiefs out there with PhDs and shit. And you know, like, and there's a lot of other people. Like one of my old A school students, she got her bachelor's degree while she was at sea. Like she was, I mean, they were in shipyard for a while and stuff, but I seen her get her bachelor's degree and she's still going to school. I think she's on shore duty right now. She's like trying to get her PhD in Chuck Deuces, and it's like at like 10 years. Yeah. So it's just like, how could you keep them around unless they're like the very small minority that's just like bought into the idea of like doing something like serving their country and like doing something greater than themselves or whatever. It's like, yeah, man. Like, and it's compounded by the fact. So I think that was a huge factor in us getting to this point. I do think there were others, but now that we're here and it's so much worse for everybody because the manning sucks and the retention sucks, it's just going to compound, because now it's like they have all these incentives to leave and it sucks so bad quality of life wise that they're just like, yeah, everybody's running for the hills, man. Yeah, man. And it just nuts. It ain't too many people making it look good, man. And cool, man. It don't look cool, man. And that's kind of like what I think about more than anything else, you know, because you got like, you know, if people want to be an athlete, for instance, they got Steph Curry, they got LeBron, a basketball player, they got Steph Curry, they got LeBron, they got people that Michael Jordan, like he made it look cool. Kobe made it look cool. You know, when like it's not too many junior sellers, it's not too many junior enlisted sellers like, man, like I want to be a chief, like the Chiefs out there making it. It was a time, you know, it was a time where the Chiefs looked cool. Like, you know, people like, man, I aspire to be a chief, you know, and we need more people like to do that, especially now. It's like, all right, you got to change a little bit because that generation it's a new group of people. Like we got to be a little bit more transparent. We got to talk more. We got to be open more. We got to show our personality a little bit more. Like than back in the day where people like, I never even saw my chief. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different time. Yeah. But it's like, it ain't too many people that care enough to make this thing look good, man. We always like, whenever I see us on like Navy Tiles or something, like we do something stupid, man. like we just stole from the exchange. You know what I mean? Like like, I just got my my barracks from Respected. You know what I mean? Like I just got my barracks from. She wrote a note about how good it is. You know, like she like, and I talked to the other one of the junior sellers who work here, and it's a small thing and it sound petty. I talked to one of the junior sellers who work here the last time we did inspections. She was like, "Hey, senior, I walked your room," and I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, "Yeah, it smelled real good." And it was very fucking impressive. And she was like, the thing is, you look like your room would smell very good. You're very well put together, man.
This shit smelled great, bro. But so look,
plus with all that hooyah in the room, how could it not smell great?
Yeah, I got pride gear all in the closet, man. Hey, for the listeners, y'all gotta
folded like boot camp and shit,
bro.
Like
it's boot camp, bro. I didn't put boot. Yeah, it's boot camp fold, and I put boot camp folds on my
on your bed,
on my bed. Like, but this my thing, right?
I bet you that shit's floating around TikTok somewhere. Those kids were in there inspecting your room, taking all kinds of pictures and shit.
One of my fucking first classes came and did an inspection. But this my thing. If y'all gonna fucking look at my room, I don't want no issues with y'all. Yeah. This shit. So when I run into the young lady and we walked the room, she's like, yeah, I looked at you. She's like, it smelled good when I walked in and everything. Seeing, she was like, the thing is, a lot of the RA's rooms are fucked up. So she was like, she had bet my first class that my room was not going to be good. They bet. He was like, damn.
Wow.
Because he was
Are you kidding me? Look at that mustache. Of course it's going to be good.
Bro.
Look at how clean its line
Ready
is,
to
dude.
go.
You think his room's not going to be clean?
So, but he was fucked up because he got my room. This is one of my first classes. He's like, man, that's my senior chief or whatever. She was like, it is what it is. Like, we got to go inspect his room. Yeah. She's like, I bet you it's messed up. He RA, I bet it's messed up. He said, see, I walked in there. It was crazy. I was like, hey, it is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I'm at in life right now. Geo batch. Yeah. Living in the barracks, you know. So she came in, they saw mics and stuff. He was like, my senior chief, man, he got like a podcast and stuff. He kind of famous. I was like, I'm not famous. Don't do that. So now, I try to keep a low pro, bro. I try to, I go in she's like, hey, senior, like in front of the young sellers, man, I don't care.
We be on that podcast.
Yeah, she's like, I subscribe to your YouTube. I was like, God. I got you, But that's the thing, bro. We not setting the example, bro. Like, they supposed to walk in my fucking. I'm an RA. I'm a senior chief. Yeah. They supposed to walk in my barracks room. It's supposed to be military creases in my rack. It's supposed to smell good. My rack on my ship. It's supposed to look good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what they do with us. That's what they do with chiefs. They looking at what we doing and they like, man, chief doing that shit. Then I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So that's my whole thing. And then it's like, all right, I still got to be me. Right. So I still got to be me. So that's the whole thing. And living in this barracks opened my eyes to what these young sellers are fucking dealing with, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a kitchen. I ain't got a fucking kitchen. You know what I'm saying? And we got like the barracks bill of rights. I know you probably saw it. You hip to a lot of that shit. But like, I mean, I came in here, man. These barracks were dirty when I moved in. I had to like scrub, get hair out of shit, get dishes out of shit. They go, it was a second class in there before you. Oh, that's why I was fucked up like that. Like nobody came in between that. You know what I mean? So right. Yeah, life is, just talking about like, just like shifting gears, just talking about like trying to lead, trying to be a leader in this dynamic environment that the Navy is right now. Right. So Monday morning, I get to work to find out that a sailor that was in my division about a month before I got there died in a car accident, right? So it's like, all right, so now I got to navigate a space where most of the people in my division right now are friends with this sailor that I never had a chance to meet, right? So the week started out, that was Monday morning before quarters, right? So it's like, all right, how are we going to execute quarters now? We got two sellers that were like really good friends of his that we need to get this information on. Now this seller's funeral is Friday. So that's a Monday to Friday. Let's figure out what we got to do as a carrier. So we got IET release. We got people that want to go to funerals. We got, just all this stuff going on that, remember when I was on shore duty, I wasn't getting none of that action, So at the same time that's going on, I got a wife at home because I'm geo-batching. I got a wife at home that's pregnant. High risk pregnancy. I just told her I can't go see her this weekend. Like, hey, baby, I'm not going to travel. Monday morning, like finding out about the seller who died. Well, he got out, but finding out about him, I was exhausted. I had just drove from DC to Norfolk at 2. I missed the Chief Select PT that was at 5 because I drove from DC to Norfolk and I wanted to get an hour of sleep. So I got back to the ship at like 5 and like took a nap until 6. Then I found out that, the seller passed, but then it's like, we still got to inspire. We still got to lead. We still got to put our best foot forward, man. It's just a dynamic. And I say all that because it's just a dynamic space that we in right now. It's a lot of stuff, man. And I mean, the point you're making, it's like, I don't doubt you navigated that deftly, but like that's because you're you, though. You know what I mean? Like that was something that the criticism I had of the MCPON memos. That's what I was getting.
You're the first mental health.
Yeah, that's what I was getting.
First mental health tech or whatever. It's like at no point were you, and this isn't even like a mental health thing. This is like an accident happened. I assume. I don't know all the details, but like presumably it was just an accident. Like a car accident happened and he passed away or she passed away.
It was him.
And it's like, Okay, so like he passed away in a car accident that was just an accident, but it's like, okay, so how are you supposed to deal with that as the leader of that group of people? Like, how are you supposed to navigate that dynamic? Like, you didn't even know the kid, but you obviously know enough with life experience and just general knowledge of like that being a traumatic event for the people that were close to him. It's gonna, like, people are gonna be down, not focus on work necessarily. People are gonna need time off, all that kind of stuff. But like, when you're talking about specifically that point that I think Honey was trying to make with that ridiculous fucking statement was like, at what point was I ever taught any of this stuff? Like, at what point did I become a qualified mental health technician? Mm-hmm. Like, or even like informally prepared to just deal with the interpersonal like dynamics of that group being in the place that it is, losing somebody that they were close to. It's like, that's not me. I don't know how to fucking do that. Like, and I mean, I'm learning it now because I'm studying psychology, and I did this. I became a certified peer counselor recently because I'm trying to work at the VA, and it's like a thing where you're kind of like a liaison between the person in care and the care team, even though you're technically part of the care team too. Like, but like at the VA, the function would be most of the providers aren't veterans, and so like the veterans that go there for counseling have a hard time connecting, and so they hire veteran peer counselors to like bridge that gap and do other things. But like, but yeah, I mean, I'm like kind of immersing myself in that realm, but like, I still don't feel qualified to like counsel people, you know, like, and it's because I'm not, you know, like the peer counselor thing, that's what they call it, but it's like, you're really like just support, you know, like you're just a person that's there to support them through the experience that you've already gone through. Cause like one of the prerequisites is you have to have been in some like mental health care for a year so that you understand the experience and stuff. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's, I'm just helping steward them through the process. And you like, one of the things they talk about is like inspiring, like hope and, I forget what the other word is. It's like hope and something else, about basically just demonstrating to them that like you can, like there's a path to being a stable, productive, contributing member of society, whatever that looks like to you. You know what I mean? Like you can actually do all those things that you don't think you can do, or you can be in a better place than you're in right now, whatever that looks like for you, kind of thing. And you're just kind of like helping steward them towards whatever that is for them. But like, even like, okay, so there's that, I have that, and it's like that wouldn't prepare me to deal with the situation you just described. So like, that's the huge gripe I have with that. I'm interested to hear what you thought about it too, man. But like, because you probably heard my rant on it, but like,
yeah, I did. I just
thought that shit was super irresponsible.
You know, I listened to you talk about it, man. When I was at Chick-fil-A, man. You know, hey, so for your listeners, get
Delicious.
The exclusive, man. Right now, I'm no longer pescatarian. You know what I mean? For the don't give up the shit.
I didn't even know you were pescatarian.
Yeah, I was pescatarian for a little bit, but when I went over to do the chief, when I went to do the chief boards, it changed me. You know, some beef and
this will be a real breaking down. It didn't change shit. It's just because there's a Chick-fil-A 5 seconds outside the gate. No, because I went there for breakfast a couple of times.
Nah, well, I ate ribs. I was eating ribs. You know, like all that shit that they got.
Oh yeah, yeah. So well, you were able to go to like what's close? Is it Memphis?
I went to Memphis for like 4 days because it was a blackout.
Yeah, so. Oh, okay. Yeah, they wouldn't let us go because it was like so close to COVID still. They were like, you have to stay within like 5 miles of base or some bullshit.
Yeah, it was a blackout in Millington for like 4 days. We ain't had power. So like,
oh, no way. Yeah. So you just got like a 4-day vacation in the middle?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a fucking vacation, but if that's what you want.
It probably
it was the first day, bro. The first day, like the day that the day of arrival, that Sunday before the Monday.
Oh, wow.
It was a blackout, and like we didn't have power for like fucking 12 hours. In Millington, we didn't have power overnight. Like I wake up early, so I caught the hot shower. Other people might have caught the cold one, and then we waited till like 1400 to finally find out like what the Navy like had for us to do, and that was pretty much go out on your own and go find a hotel, figure it the fuck out, y'all chiefs. Like that's really what it was.
You got a government credit card, right?
Yo, grab a wrench, figure it the fuck out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of what happened. But back to what you was saying about the McPon statement. But I do want to I got to tie in the other part of it too, because so with the seller who passed, right? It's multiple levels of leadership that you got to do, right? You got to communicate, right? You got to communicate this now. And this got to go up to my CO. This got to go up to my chain of command. So that's a level of leadership. You got the emotional level of leadership because you're dealing with your sellers, right? Then you got to lead your sellers. You got to figure out like that it became like at one point it became everybody that's going to the funeral, come to my office right now and let's do leave. Because the land is down on my ship too. So it's just a couple spots that we got drops. So it's like, all right,
of course it is.
Yeah, all of y'all come to the office. Let's figure this out. Let's put all of y'all on leave. And then it's like, I need, my EDMC. He like, hey, I need all them leave chips by the end of the day. So I'm like, all right, give me them leave chips by 10. You tell me end of the day, I got you by lunch. Give me those. He's like, IET requests and all that stuff. So it's like, let's get all this stuff done right now and done. So now I got to lead in that regard. So now, even though it's like this emotional moment, for the sellers, it's also this moment that I got to be firm enough to know, hey, get this shit in by 10 so y'all could be good to go. Right. And I'm looking out for y'all. And it was a moment where we were trying to get them on no cost TED orders, but that didn't work, Then same time we doing the 80-10 drill. We getting ready for the chapter 12 drill on the ship, everything based off the BHR. So when I read those letters, any of them, right? Like ones that say like, you got to know what your seller spouse is doing even after hours and stuff like that. So when I read stuff like that,
everything about everyone all the time.
Yeah. And you were saying something about like crash dummy. You were saying, and you didn't say these words, but you were saying something about like, and the way I kind of translate it is like crash dummies. That's me, man. Like I'm the dude that's going to take the GPS across the fucking river because like into the water because the GPS said that this is the way to go. Like I saw that on The Office before. Where it was like, no, we following the fucking GPS and they just rode into the river.
Yeah, that's told me to turn left here.
That's me, bro. I'm on the front lines, man. Yeah. So when you tell me something, when in that letter that you read about mental health, and I heard it on. Actually, Fleet to Korzik said it on the Seas of Triumph podcast. He said something along those lines too. And when he said it, it was along those lines, and you had to hear that. You had to listen to the episode again. But when he said it, I was like, man, I never looked at it like that. So when he said it, I was like, I never looked at it like that. Then when I read it in the recent letters, I was like, man, I'm not qualified for that. Like I can't make and my wife works in mental health, and so and I think I think sometimes when these statements come, they like heavy handed. Like it's like I don't think they it's like sometimes when Kanye say something and it's like yo Kanye, like can you say more of what you meant from that? Like you might need like a 20-minute explanation for that. You just said a blanket statement. Like give me more of what you meant so I can make sense of what you said. So when I listened to what you talked about, I felt like you were more so saying, hey, we need better, you could tell me I'm wrong, but I felt like you were more so saying like we need better responsibility in the words that we're using because these words have meaning and power.
Yeah, that was most of it. It's not because I think if I recall correctly, Korzik said it's something to the effect of like, not everything's a mental health issue and we need to be better about having those knee-to-knee conversations or whatever. I think Korzik got a lot closer to what I think they're actually trying to communicate. They're just doing a horrific fucking job of it. They want their chiefs to be more interactive, they use the intrusive leadership term, which I think is fucking stupid, but whatever. Like what they're just saying you should be able, and I still take umbrage with this because we're not provided the training to do this effectively. And I think they underestimate the necessity of that training and education, need. I think they just assume everybody has this baseline level of emotional intelligence and they can just read people enough to notice when somebody that you see most days is looking off and you're going to intervene and ask them if they're okay and really mean that shit. Yeah. It's no, that's not a thing that everybody just has by default. It's not part of everybody's software. And so it's you got to teach that shit. And so I still take an issue with this concept generally. It's just less of an issue when it's expressed as, no, you just you need to be the one that, if you recognize a sailor that looks down in the dumps, that you intervene, ask that question. Or if you hear something troubling, that you go find that sailor and say, hey, come on, what's going on? Yeah. Tell me what's, and more importantly, I would say that you take the time to like authentically communicate to them and build trust so that they will be willing to have that conversation with you in the first place. Because I could have all the training in the world. I could be able to recognize that sailor looks like they're in distress or they're overly stressed out or tired or something's going on. Or I hear from someone else that there's a problem, or a sailor that's concerned comes to me and says, hey, I think the sailor is like in trouble. But then I have to be able to go to them and have that trust for them to even tell me anything. Yeah. Right. And so it's like, there's all this shit like that is unspoken in these comments where, oh, you just need to have these need conversations. It's like, no, that's not what this is. It's not that simple. And you should fucking know better. And that's why I think those statements are so irresponsible. But to compound the casualty, this fucking genius wrote down that you're like, use those words that like the first mental health tech. And it's like, you can't say shit like that. You just can't. Because like you were just saying, there are plenty of people in these positions that don't have the level of competence that even you do. Mm-hmm. And even you're saying like, I might be at risk of doing this, but like the baseline average chief does not have the level of competence to do that effectively or to read between the lines. Like when you say, oh, the first mental health technician that a sailor encounters is their chief, that there's some fucking chief out there that's going to take that all the way to the dark side of the moon.
They're going to drive off the river.
And
they just drive right off the river.
Right. And then there's a big group that's probably going to maybe not like drive off the cliff, but they're going to interpret that as, oh, what he's saying is I need to tell these sailors to like start toughening up and fight and hurt. Like not everything's a mental health issue, pansy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not the fucking answer either, because then you're going to get more Brandon Caceres. You're going to get more sailors that are going to just decide that the only option is taking their own life. Yeah. And there could have been an intervention, but the fucking MCPON put a statement out that effectively discourages enlisted leadership from referring people to mental health. And it's like, I understand there is a problem.
Yeah, that's what I was about to. Yeah, so like that's what I was about to get at. Like the heaviness of the era is that the reason why the statement is made is because it's warranted, right? But not that statement is warranted. Like
exactly,
because right now we got like, and this I ain't never been pissed I had to do anything, but we got this thing called human factors, right? So I got to do human factors with my sellers where I have to.
What is that?
So I have to sit down with my sellers and figure out like their stress levels, like what got them here, what got them there, what got them there. I already know my seller's stress levels, but it's like, so then when I do it.
Oh, but they created like an artificial metric. Thou shalt check these boxes and decide what a sailor's stress level is or whatever.
Yeah. Like, hey, here's your assignment to be a fucking senior chief. Like, and this is due, you know what I mean? And I love, like, for instance, like, hey, shout out to my EDMC because he listened to your podcast and my podcast. And
what's up, EDMC?
And I'm a do the work because I've been assigned it, you know. And he probably on the same page as me with it, but it's like the very audacity that this is a thing that chiefs have to do. To me, shows that like it's somewhere we lacking in the fact that we not fucking doing it.
Yeah. Well, dude, let me tell. Like, I don't. To be fair, and stop me if you think that this analysis is off base, because I don't actually, I'm going to look it up. I wrote it down. Like, I don't know anything about this human factors program, but what it sounds like is, and this is just, all this is a very good illustration of the organism that is Big Navy having no fucking idea what the problem is. They just don't understand the assignment. So they want you to they're worried about suicidal ideations and attempts and completions. They're worried about acute mental health issues running rampant, not having enough mental health resources, like attrition, retention, all those things, right? Mm-hmm. It's all like circling in this perfect storm of like crisis for the entire organization, right? So it's like, they're just like everything, right? There's this problem. Well, how do you fix problems? Oh, you develop this program, release an admin, put a bunch of onerous administrative requirements on people, make mandatory training, and then point at it and be like, look, we fixed it. And it's like, no, that's not how you fix this shit. It's like to me, the right, because like what I was going to get at with I understand why they're saying these things. And it's because there's a giant problem, one, with acute mental health issues generally, which is kind of like its own thing in a way. at least as far as how I view the solution. And then B is like the abuse of, or perceived abuse of, or suspected abuse of that system to just like get out of deployment, or like get out of an environment that they don't like, and like just use it as a path out. Right. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen ever, but like, I think even the cases where it presents that way, that kid is genuinely like stressed out, and having like borderline, if not legitimate, mental health issues. And they're just like kind of like jumping the gun maybe a little bit, or it's just how they're deciding to articulate because they have male pride, or because they have this fear of like judgment and ostracism by their peer group or whatever, that like, oh, I'm not really like in crisis. I'm not a pansy. I just like, I don't want to be here anymore. So I'm going to go lie to the system as a way of getting off the boat, as almost like to frame it as like cool or something, but they're like legitimately having mental health issues. And that's the problem, is that we are the furthest thing from a qualified judge of what it is and if it's real or not. And until like, I understand because from like a CO level, right, or even like a big Navy level, there's a problem, especially in the environment we find ourselves in with this hellscape of manning and retention, of if I'm going to have an unplanned loss, right, because of mental health, that unplanned loss is huge, right? Like on a submarine, our divisions are small. Yeah. Like my division was 6 to 9 people, depending on how big the platform was. I lose one person, that's a huge hit to my manpower. So like if I take an unplanned loss for mental health, it's a gigantic problem. So like they're looking for reasons to not lose that person. And I say it that way on purpose. Like it's not like they don't want them to get the help they need. They just can't in their minds can't like come to a resolution about taking that kind of a loss, because they know what it means. They know how long it's going to take to get a replacement. They know the effect it has on the watch bill and thus mission accomplishment. Right. So it's like, it's a huge deal, and they can't afford. And oh, by the way, they get judged harshly by Commodores and above on, if you have a lot of unplanned losses, you must be doing something wrong, like culturally. So there's all these things that interplay in the heads of the triad people and like the higher level leadership at the command. So it's like, I understand them having this need to try to combat it at the unit level, right? This is not the fucking way to do it. That if there's anything where you could like find the intersection of the gigantic fucking problem I have with this, it's that if you want to do this, there are ways to do it. I think the embedded mental health units that they started to create on the waterfront were a good step in the right direction. But I think you got to push it even further. There should be mental health techs trained and put on all these commands at a ratio of like 1 to 30, and just like have them available for these people to talk to and work through all these things. Cause you just, if you want to like keep them at the unit and get them the help that they need. And even in the circumstance you described, like that mental health tech can help steward that group of people through that scenario without going off the rails, and provide them all the resources and do all the things that you're not trained to do, and take that off your plate so that you have the bandwidth to do other things. And like go get all those fucking quals and all that shit.
And help lead me through the process of being a leader through that process. You know what I mean? Like
100%. Yeah. Cause like, what if you've never dealt with that before? Yeah. Like there are chiefs out there that made chief 6 years in that have never had like they still got the grandparents around and shit. They've never had a death in the family ever. So like, they don't know how to deal with it.
And I go up there, right? And I'm like, this is not like, I tell my first class, I'm like, this ain't a moment for quarters. We're not going to do quarters. We're going to do it like
we're
this.
Not doing that.
We're going to do this. We're going to just go up there, take muster, take it. Like it was automatic. Like, all right, this is what we do. This is what we do it.
Right.
But I mean, I read books. I do things that don't have nothing to do with like this shit, you know what I mean?
But I would argue that's why you knew to do that though. Yeah. And part of it's probably like your software, right? Like the way your mom raised you, the environment you grew up in, you just knew this wasn't, that's not the move. Yeah. We're not doing that. Yeah. Cause that's not an emotionally intelligent thing to do. And I care about these people genuinely. Not everybody approaches it that way. A lot of people like look at it more from like a professionalism thing. Like these are my employees. And it's like the fuck. Yeah. Like I'm not saying that can't work, but I'm kind of saying that it shouldn't be how you do it.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like everything is off script, man. You know, so I went to expanded operational stress control school when I was at my last command to be the expanded operational stress control lead. And one of the courses I asked a question, you know, just one question, and it just changed. It honestly changed my buy-in. So I left the command and I didn't do the best job at rolling this program out. I left training and didn't do the best job at rolling the program out to my command because I didn't wholeheartedly believe in the program, right? And now I don't think that the program is doing what the fuck the Navy ever said it was going to do, right? They said it was going to be inculcated into command cultures like 2 years ago. It's not. But I'm in training, right? And they, you know, it's great, man. I love the training. I'm getting good information from it. But then I'm and you know, and this is the theme of it all, right? This is the theme of what I hear when you talk. This is the theme of what I hear in different podcasts from other people's stuff. So this is what I asked. I said, hey, if we roll this out on like a ship, like my DDG, for instance, that like might have just came off a deployment. We got in-serve in a month, and we going through 2 inspections in between deployment and in-serve. And I tell my captain, like, hey, captain, I just did a stressometer on a sailor and I did it on their division. We need to do an operational pause because this sailor stressed out. And my captain
going to tell you to get the fuck out
they're
of
going to say, hey, my captain going to say, I know why they stress. You know, like, yeah, we don't know why they stress.
Yeah, we're about to deploy a warship. Everybody's fucking stressed.
We got in-serve coming up. We did this inspection. It's a stressful period. Come on. And so that's the question I asked.
Of course it is.
Yeah, bro. So that's the question I asked. And the instructor's like,
what'd they say?
I fucking shook the room, bro. Like it was like it was almost like, you know, I almost
it's like you're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
fuck.
Bro. And I almost felt like I was gonna get dropped.
This is bullshit.
Almost felt like I was going. So you know, so then I get back to my fucking, you know, I get back to my command, and like first week I'm like passing out the trifos and shit like that. I sit with my sailors, and my sailor damn near asked me the same exact question that I asked him. Damn near the same question.
I like it.
And I'm like, hey, honestly, I don't fucking know. I'm gonna do some. And I told her, I was like, I already asked the people, and then I did the whole thing like this. I was like, hey, any question y'all got? Let's find out the answers together. Y'all hit me with the questions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out to the people. We reach out to the people,
to like the program office. And be like, hey, what the
what's going on?
You think the CO is gonna not deploy the warship because I brought him a stressometer?
Yeah. So then
you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So we go step 2, right? To initiate this program. Me and my RP1, that's my co-lead. He like, hey, see, he come back next day. Hey, senior, I emailed him. The stressometer is not gonna work on the version of Microsoft, whatever, you know, they're using Edge or whatever. Stressometer don't work on Edge. Stressometer not going to work with the .mils. So the stressometer don't even fucking work at the command. So it's like,
it's like the new NavFit not being designed for like Microsoft Edge or whatever.
Like, what are we doing? You know, now you got me armed up again. Like I said, now I'm armed up to drive off the fucking cliff with this program that I had a question about. So then that was it. When the stressometer thing happened, I was like, I'm completely detached.
Like, I'm done.
I can be effective. I could be effective on a podcast. I could be effective in person. But I can't be effective driving something that if I have a question about, y'all not even gonna fucking answer it.
Well, and the other component of it that I think is an even bigger deal is like those programs, just like the human factors example you gave, and then the operational stress control. It's like any programs that they create are programmatic in nature. So it's like they just don't work because that you can. I'm not going to say that the people that develop them don't have good intentions. Yeah, but like, when it gets communicated via the nav admin and the instruction and the person goes to the school and all that, it's like nobody in that room thinks that it's going to work. They're just like checking the box because somebody sent a nav admin out that has more stars than I do or whatever, you know? And so it's like when it gets to the deck plate level and you're sitting down, like, if you're sitting down asking me about a fucking stressometer, like, or whatever the question, it's like no one's taking that seriously. Everybody, it's like when I would go in for a PHA, you know what I mean? My whole fucking body hurts. Like nowadays when I go in and like the HM3 now I go to a civilian doctor, but like right before I retired, I'd go in, and this is like post-cancer. Like I'm a fucking shit show. Wheels have fallen off the wagon. I'm on limb due for mental health. So they're like, do you have any pain today? And I just would laugh. And I'm like, bro, I have pain every fucking day, all day. Like 100% of the time I'm in physical pain, but nothing notable. Like, it's just like I'm 40 and I did 21 years in the submarine force. Like, yeah, everything hurts. And no one seems to give a shit.
Yeah, but, like if you say whatever. That, it's like a joke. If you say it's like, okay, like, let's be serious, man. Like I'm fucking serious right now. Like that the pre-physical question there. Like, any joint pain? Hell yeah, I got joint pain.
Yeah, I'm just like, nah, yeah, okay. This is a questionnaire I have to do to be like certified to go back to sea, and I'm not gonna like be the guy that gets pulled off sea duty so someone else can do my job. So like, I'm like operational enough that I know I can go to sea on a submarine. So like, yeah, everything's fine. So I don't have anything to complain about. Where do I sign? You know what I mean? And that's what those interactions are going to be on a fucking stressometer. Yeah, I'm fine, senior. Check. Yeah. Like all 5s or 1s or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like, so the leadership development and education piece is like that's what I talk to like everybody about. I'm sure I've talked to you about it, but like
it's big.
Yeah. But it's the one thing that would like provide an objective quality increase to the leadership interactions every sailor in the Navy has, but also like most of the problems that you see that they try to come up with these programmatic answers for are just symptoms of a larger problem. And in my analysis, every one of them, like if you pull the string and follow it all the way back, it stops at leadership development and education, because if the leaders were objectively better, the problems that are happening wouldn't be happening, at least to the scale that they are and the severity that they are, if not just like completely disappearing. And it depends on what problem we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But like you would see a marked increase in retention, probably recruiting. You'd see a dip in sexual assault, sexual harassment, suicidal ideations and attempts, mental health usage, not because people aren't going or getting referred when they need it, but because they don't need it as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying earlier, so going back to the stressometer thing or whatever, like the CO is going to be like, of course they're stressed out. We're about to deploy a warship. Yep. And it's like, yeah, there's that. But then there's all the additional stress we put on top of them with all the onerous bullshit that's in the plan of the week and the leadership incompetence that they have to deal with on a daily basis. It's like, if one of these was gone, all we'd have is the stress of deploying the warship. And everybody understands, like if you think for a second that every single one of those kids don't know what they signed up for, even if they're behaving as if they don't, like, oh, I gotta go to sea. It's like, yeah, you joined the Navy, genius. Mm-hmm. Like that's what we do here. So it's like, they all know what they signed up for, and they all know it's going to be hard and stressful and long hours, be away from home. Like they know all that. What they didn't sign up for was like toxic leadership. What they didn't sign up for was being treated less than human.
Yeah.
You know, what they didn't sign up for was being treated like they're an infant when they're trusted with like operating a nuclear reactor all day. But then you got to come make sure I took my trash out and my closet's locked. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so there's all that stuff. If you can eliminate all of that additional superfluous stress that only exists because of leadership incompetence, again, in my analysis, it's like, think about all the things that would just start going right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It'd be like, what movie is it? I think it's Bruce Almighty or like one of those movies where
like everything, everything
walking
changed.
On sunshine, everything. Yeah, birds are chirping. And it's like, it wouldn't be perfect, obviously. Like it's still an incredibly hard and stressful job. But it's like you could go into it like you're coming from like an optimal starting point instead of I'm coming in like running on fumes and then I have to do this incredibly hard thing. You know, and it's just like, here we are in this dumpster fire. And it's like a big part of it is that like, I definitely think all those other things are relevant, but it's like, it all traces back up to me. To leadership development and education being effectively non-existent.
Yeah, man. Cause we get expectations, we get visions, we get mission, guiding principle, all that stuff. We get a lot of stuff, but I don't think we get the support in training. I don't think we get the education for some, and I think we need it. It's some people that don't need it, right? It's some people that's just these natural, you know, whatever leaders that they are, right?
That, dude. You know, they can be better. Like, they might not be the primary problem, but like, no, I'm with you.
Everybody can be better, right? It's everybody can be better, but Like you probably even got some listeners like, oh fucking, I got my shit together.
100%.
I don't need no fucking training. So like,
yeah, probably.
Yeah, so
that's fine
for them, right? So y'all can be happy, right? Y'all don't need it. I'm actually being super sarcastic right now, right? So it's some people that don't need it, but it's a lot of people that need it, bro. Like and need feedback. And I was telling the Chief Select, I'm like, hey, look, this season, right? You're gonna get a whole lot of fucking feedback. Enjoy that feedback because you're not gonna get that much feedback ever again. You're not gonna get that much feedback ever again. I tell my sellers, I tell my junior sellers, hey, give me a grade. Give me a grade and be fucking honest. Don't lie to me. How the fuck am I doing? Like, how am I doing for real? And I like to catch them, even the ones that's transferring. They the ones I really like to catch. How I'm doing. Tell me how I'm doing. What can I do better?
Skin in the game anymore.
Yeah, they could be like, yo, fuck you, senior. You fucking suck. You know what I mean? It's like,
suck.
Yo, what can I do better? You know, what can I do better? And the thing I like most is a lot of them could pull from a personal thing. Hey, senior, well, when you did this, I really appreciate that you did this. You know, somebody else, hey, senior, this. And I only really been there for like 2 months. And so I'm working, I'm trying. I haven't touched everybody. I haven't. But it's like we not getting no feedback. We not getting no training, really. I don't think it's a chief training that's newly developed since like the 09, 010 era.
I mean,
I don't know.
The newest that I'm aware of, well, I guess the newest would be the CPO Leadership Development course, which somebody sent me the guides and I haven't gone through them yet, but I didn't, I wanted to go like stand in the back of the room and watch one before I retired. And I never got to do it.
Is that something that we'll do?
I mean, I'm down to show up. If anybody in the Pacific Northwest is running a class and wants me to show up, I'd be happy to. But
that's not in the mess. That's not like a mess. That's not like is that like a?
It's not
a mess training.
It's gonna be it's going to be a requirement for individual chiefs to go through it at some point. Eventually, the way I understand it is, I did a podcast with the ELD guys with Toby Ruiz and his course manager. And they told me that in the next, and I probably did that podcast like 3 or 4 months ago. So he said in the next 2 years, it's going to be all the NLEC ELD stuff is going to become mandatory. So like you have 2 years to complete those courses for the net. Like, so like I think the basic one, it would be to be eligible for E5, you have to have it done. Or to put it on, you have to have it done. And then like the intermediate would be E6, I think.
So
I don't know what levels they would
functional, intermediate, and advanced. So functional is E4.
Well, so I think the first one would probably not be mandatory for anything because they just deleted the E4 exam. But then for E5 and E6, it would be the intermediate, advanced, and then the CPO leadership course. I think that one, it was like within a certain amount of time of making chief. Like, so you can make it and go. And then like, I think you have like 2 years from getting pinned. You have to have that class or something, but they're all going to become required. But it's like, the pushback I had for them was like, hey, like, okay, it's going to become required. Like, so is the Senior Enlisted Academy. But and I don't know if they finally followed through, but every year that I was on active duty, they waived the requirement to make Master Chief. Because that was why a lot of the guys that I went with in my class were there, was because they were like, well, eventually this is going to be a requirement to make Master Chief, and I'm trying to make Master Chief. They weren't there to be better or learn anything. They were just there to check the box.
And that takes away.
I don't know that it does, because like they objectively need it anyway. So it's like, maybe the exposure helps, maybe it doesn't. But also, like, had they gone through everything else on the way up, maybe they'd be more in receive mode by the time they arrive at the Senior Enlisted Academy. But like, either way, like, I'm happier with them there than not, because the Senior Enlisted Academy is fucking incredible. Have you gone?
So the impact, the impact of it is good, right?
It's amazing.
So the vision is supposed to be going from like you just said, it's supposed to be going from FLDC to ILDC, all the way up to Senior Enlisted Academy. But I like, me personally, I feel like when we make things mandatory, like, I feel like a little bit of the like magic is taken out of it, because it's some people that really want to go to these things. And when you make things mandatory, some of those, it could change lives. It could change people's way of thinking. It could do whatever like that. Me personally, though, I just feel like when eSWATs became mandatory, I'm like, all right, fuck, everybody got to get it. It's just this thing that people get.
I think that's you can put all of that lack of magic on the people running the program, because submarine dolphins have been mandatory forever. Like, I don't know that it was ever optional, honestly. And that program still to like, I mean, I was in the submarine force for 20 years.
Still effective.
And that shit never lost its shine, man. Like it was always like taken extremely seriously.
Beforehand.
Like fiercely. Yeah. Okay. Fiercely protected by the people that are the stewards of the program, which are the people wearing dolphins. And so it's like, I think we just did a better job creating and implementing the program force wide so that when you get to a submarine, like you're nervous about you, like your fish is like at the forefront of your mind constantly. And it's like the most important thing, like the only like caveat to that would be like for nukes, they have so many other quals and their jobs kind of take precedence most of the time, but they're also nukes. So they usually blow through their dolphin quals really fast because they already know all like a lot of the stuff from 2 years of nuke school. It's just
sad to me that shit got to be mandatory. Like, hey, not enough people going, all right, we're going to make this shit mandatory. Now, the one thing that I did want to kind of say though was that like chief training, right? So that's chief training. That's a formalized chief training. You go somewhere for like 4 days, 5 days, and you get chief training. On the last ship I was on, we had officer training every week, every Tuesday at a certain time. Officers got training, and that's what I'm getting at about chief training is I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in a while.
There should be that as well. Like the only time I ever experienced that was that very first submarine where I made chief. That Cobb would do. We did some chiefs training, but then he would do like P-Cobb training too, where he would just have the guys that wanted to be Cobbs. There's like 3 of us that were working on the qual, and he would set aside his time and we'd meet up in the chief's mess, and he would pick a topic and we would go down, like go through the list. And then sometimes he would sign it. Sometimes he would tell us to come back to him with when we had the requisite knowledge or whatever. But and like I've seen some Cobb. There was some Cobb training when I was at my last job too, but it was like sporadic because the region CMCs would like kind of get on that bandwagon and then like get distracted by something shiny and then we wouldn't do it. It's not common at all. And I think it should be. I think it should, I also think it should be mandatory.
I think it should. Like, now that I think should be mandatory too. I think that should be mandatory.
Well, what's the difference between that and school? Like, why would you not want schools to be mandatory?
The reason why I think that should be mandatory is because you're on a ship, right? And the first thing you're going to do is find a fucking excuse not to go, right? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And I just think, all right, stop work and go do it. It's not, so me with the school being mandatory, it's not that I don't want it to be mandatory because I think people shouldn't go or whatever. I just think it's sad that we get to a point that I think it's a shame that shit has to become mandatory for people to go to it. Not that it's not the end result. The end result of SEA is great. SCA is great. But I think the fact that it's like, hey, it's not enough people fucking wanting to come to do this. Like every time somebody talks to me about SCA, I'm like, yo, this shit is fucking great. I had a great time. Met great people, learned great shit. And people are like, oh no, man, it's just don't. Like, yo, just go.
Right.
You know, so then it's like, all right.
But I think,
what's up?
And I guess this is more of a question. Do you think that if we're building it in from the beginning, and so they got to see over time the value of that leadership development and education, that they would then, you wouldn't have that after a generation of people going through all the NLEC ELD stuff, which you it's like remediation almost. Like you got to make it mandatory to get a generation of sailors to understand that to be the norm and hopefully understand the value of it, so that by the time they went through all that stuff and ended up at SEA, you're not in a place where you're fighting for people to understand the value. Yeah,
that pipeline is that would be a dope pipeline, like a really good pipeline. Yeah, like hey, go through this, because by the time you get there, SCA it's a no brainer. Like right now, we got Master Chiefs. I have conversations with them, right? And I'm not talking about the Master Chief unit, our family, but I've had conversations with some Master Chiefs that like, I ain't never going to SCA. Fuck SCA. Like this ain't that. And I'm like, yo, you never. Like you don't even know what it is. I'm not doing a song and dance. They want you to get up there. It's like, no, that's not even.
Yeah, they think it's like bullshit, and it's like, no, it's not. It's objectively like incredible.
Yeah, it's good.
Education.
Yeah, it's good.
Like I loved my time at SCA.
Yeah, me too, man.
And it was like, we were working hours, bro. Yeah. Like we were like in class till 16:30. Then I'd go to a lecture of opportunity. Then I'd go to the group room and meet everybody up after dinner to work on our projects and shit. Like we hustling.
Yeah, we became family. You know, we still got the group chat. You know, we still got the group chat.
Yeah.
And so for me, like if like I don't want it to come off like unintended, like I ain't mean it, but it's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that like I hate that it's mandatory. I just hate that these things have to be mandatory, that it gets to a point that people like, damn, like this shit is good, man. Like just fucking do it.
Yeah. And I can get over that just because I look at it like it's remediation at this point until we're through the generation that needs that remediation. And then I don't think you'd be fighting against it so hard where you would like everybody would want to go.
Yeah.
I would hope. But even so, it's like, it's so important that I feel like it needs to be mandatory. Like, cause even the people that are saying like that mass chief or that's saying, fuck this, I don't ever want to go, blah, blah, blah. It's like that dude needs to go more than anyone else.
Yeah, bro.
In my opinion.
And people go and they be changed. They be like, yeah, when I first came here, I was resistant to this. I thought this was bullshit. Now look at me. Like it's a success story. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, the feeling that, that it should be mandatory. I just feel like I'm saddened by the fact that things have to be.
Yeah, I just like the problem I have with it is they make it mandatory and then waive the requirement over and over again because they can't get the people there. Mm-hmm. And it's like sometimes it's with SEA, I think the problem was the capacity. Like they don't have the ability to get the number of people that need to get through. If we make it mandatory, like there's just not a capacity that exists that would provide all those people the opportunity. So then holding them accountable to the fact that it's mandatory is not fair.
Yeah.
But then like with NLEC ELD, according to Toby Ruiz and the team, it's like they have the capacity to make it mandatory and get everybody through. Yeah. It's just commands aren't sending their people.
People not supporting.
And it's like,
people ain't supporting.
Right. But it's like, if we make it mandatory, because like, there's making it mandatory and then there's enforcement, like we communicate to everybody, hey, we got this great new program. You got to send all your people through it. It'll be mandatory eventually. And then now we're saying it's going to be mandatory in the next 2 years. But then it's like, there's got to be like a vigorous, like, like the ISIC CMC is like, I want your NLEC ELD reports monthly because I need to know the throughputs. So like kind of like when you go into medical and they have like medical readiness percentages on a whiteboard for each unit and they put that shit right in front of God and everybody. And so it's like, like no CMC wants to walk into medical and see their percentage read, you know what I mean? And they get nasty grams from the clinic and from Squadron and all this stuff. So it's just like, there needs to be an enforcement mechanism too, where they're like people are making it a priority to say, hey, this is mandatory. Thou shalt go within the next 2 years. So where's my NLEC ELD report for your command?
Did you go to ELD
for your UIC?
Did you go to ELD?
No, I didn't get to.
All right, so
I signed up to get for the facilitator class so I could like learn about it. Yeah. And then something came up where I like my CMC needed me for something. So I ended up plugging in a different senior chief and then I just never got the opportunity to go again.
So I went to ELD for the facilitator
before
class,
I retired anyway.
I went to trainer for the facilitator class. It was one major thing, one primary thing that could get us kicked out of that, right? The primary thing that they said could get us kicked out was if we failed to buy in, right? Lack of buy-in. So lack of buy-in to get you removed from this fucking training, right? So
define that. How did they measure it?
Lack of buy-in mean that you don't give a hell. So my next episode, like you're
just sitting in the back, not talking and shit.
My next podcast,
participating.
Yeah, my next podcast episode, I'm actually interviewing like one of my ELD instructors, right? Mm-hmm. So and we were reflecting on. So he does a way better job at like explaining what he means by buy-in than I could ever do. But it's almost like you don't care about the concepts that they talking about. It's a lot of moral courage, a lot of ethics, a lot of shit, a lot of things that got to do with diversity, inclusion, and things like that got to do with the general dynamics of people, how people work. So it's like, hey, if you're not buying into these concepts, then you got to get the fuck out of here, because if we qualify you to train, you're going to go out and
do a bad job,
do a shitty fucking job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the big thing. And that's one of the...
I like that.
Yeah.
I can't complain about that. I like that requirement.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why it's like they looking for people that care. So for trainer, when you start making it, because they have, like you said, they got the capacity to train, but they also want us to train. They want us to go out and be the trainers. You know what I'm saying? So if we start being the trainers, we need people that give a fuck. It can't just be some random dude that did it because his chain of command. They didn't even want. They wanted vetted people in the class. They didn't even want people. And quiet as kept. All of us wasn't vetted. Like our fucking CMCs told us we had to go. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't vetted.
Like you're going.
Yeah, y'all going. Y'all gonna learn. And luckily, a lot of us got something out of it. But they only want vetted people. You know, so it's like no. So that's where like the waters to me get muddy because not everybody gonna make it through.
That's a low key acknowledgement that we have a problem within the mess too. I'm just saying, like, if you only want vetted chiefs going through to get qualified as NLEC ELD facilitators,
man, they wanted people that was
acknowledging that
they wanted people that was born.
Yeah, that we have a leadership competence problem. So what are we doing about that? How are we remediating these chiefs and senior chiefs and master chiefs?
Yeah, because it's like, why would you?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, why would you not buy into something like this? But some of those concepts got to do with diversity, and some of these problems are very, very fucking divisive things. Yeah, especially and in our episode, he talked a lot about between 2016 and 2020. Right between different elections and different like George Floyd George Floyd came up and stuff like that. So it's like you started to see where people were, so
bro. And when I had Harpy Daniels on, it was YN1, his first name's Josh, I forget his last name or their last name, sorry. I'm bad at the remembering pronouns thing, but when I had them on, I lost like 50 to 70 followers that week.
Like they say
and
anything?
I'm like
to
thinking
you?
about no, like I had one guy comment like, why would you encourage this on like YouTube, I think. And he was there to troll me no matter what, I think. I don't know that probably was like a 15-year-old Dorito dust covered dork in his basement, but like they were like, why would you encourage this? I'm like encourage what? Like sailors to live their best lives and like be happy and healthy. Like get the fuck out of here with this bullshit, dude. Like I know what you're trying to bait me into, but like I don't care, man. Whatever makes you happy, and if that's what makes them happy, like go live your best life. They look pretty happy to me. They're all over Instagram and TikTok and stuff. Living their best life. So it's, and it doesn't affect, like it very clearly doesn't affect their ability to do their job in any way, shape or form, because they're like an EP sailor that just promoted to first class and is like a sailor of the year and all this shit. So it's like, maybe you should look into drag, bro. Like, because like maybe it would make you happier and healthier and have you performing at the EP level. I don't know. Like, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't have anybody really vocalize it. They just like
dipped out,
demonstrated that like
dipped out,
and and it's like, fine. Like for one,
I'm
like,
happy when
I look at it kind of like that dude does about buy-in, you know what I mean? Like buy, like, I don't care.
I'm happy when people dip
like,
out, bro.
Also,
I'm happy when people dip out.
I mean, I am when I'm coming from that, like the standpoint of like, well, you're a closed-minded, ignorant human, but also like, I want them to not be that. I would love for them to open their mind and learn some things, which I think they can do by being here. But like, I'm not going to not talk to somebody like that to spare the feelings of like somebody that's being a judgmental bigot.
Yeah, man. Like
I don't know. Like it was,
you gotta go, man. Like I looked at it like, normally if like the pattern, the way we pod, right? So like, let's say like you get like a USS Cole episode or like Press 100 now about like the chief selection boards, where I know I'm about to get like this influx of like listeners that like are coming to hear about like the chief sport. The next pod after that is probably just going to be me, Damon, and Tish talking, joking, laughing, like being the versions of us that we are. So like that person that might have came like, oh man, every time I come, I'm gonna hear some shit about the chief selection board. The next time they come, they like, oh, like we did an episode together, and I think for like the first 10 minutes we talk about potlucks. Somebody was like, I saw somebody on Reddit like, oh, when they gonna stop talking about potlucks and start talking about like, all right,
like whatever, man, don't fucking listen then. Like, you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, like you gotta go. I'm cool with you. I'm cool. I'm cool with you not being here because. Like like we got to establish a core, and I'm also okay with the influx of people going to like the big time episode about like the selection board, and then like not coming back until it's another big episode. So I never like at first It was like YouTube, for instance, when you got like three subscribers and then you got 2, it's like, oh shit, I lost a subscriber. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? You know, but then it's like,
whatever.
Yeah, then it's like, I get it. It's okay. Like, it's not, you know, it's not for everybody. Some people don't even like the fact that Chiefs, and because I got a question for you. Some people don't even like the fact that Chiefs get on mics and be transparent. Like, some people don't like that. Some people, some people don't like the fact that Navy service members or ex-service members get on mics and criticize systems, and they take it as negative and not take it as like, oh no, I'm talking about ways that these things could be better. So the question I got for you is this: when you talked about, like, as you going through, I know you've been going through and talk about the letters that McPon been putting out. Have you received any like negative like feedback and like your DMs or anything from anybody?
No. And it's as shocking to me as it is to you to this day. So like I've done other very inflammatory things from my perspective. Yeah. That I thought would stir up the Chiefs mess horde, you know,
like the vessel,
I released the reels of me reading a revision of the Chief Petty Officer's Creed. Like, I rewrote the Creed and published it on the website and shared it as a reel and it was in a podcast. Yeah. And zero negative feedback, even like to the point that like it was so opposite of what I expected. Like, I was positive I was going to get like pitchforks and torches. I was like, here we go. I'm pressing one of these buttons that I didn't want to when I was on active duty. But like, it wasn't just a lack of like that of the negative response. It was like, I got positive responses from places I never expected positive responses from. Like, this retired Cobb CMC in the submarine community, like, kind of like one of those like legendary figures in the community. Like, everybody knows who this dude is. Like, I knew him when he was on active duty, like, sort of like he was like my boss's boss's boss at the CMC level. And but I'd see him around, and he was a cook too, so he was kind of like a hero to us because we're like, one of us made it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, busted through and actually got like a star on their patch. But like, he commented, like, he shared them and he commented like, you might be onto something. This is really good. And I think we need to be like going this direction. And then he like DM'd me about like, dude, you're making a difference. Like, don't ever stop, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like blown away that because he's like the old crusty retired CMC that was around forever. And so like, in my mind, that's the type of dude that's going to like push back with all the don't take away my traditions, you know, like, and the dude being who he is, like there's a part of me that's not surprised that he's this cool because he's that guy like that I have in my mind. And like, he didn't let me down with his reaction at all. Like, it was like, of course, like, because he's such a dope dude. But it's like, I expected people to come for my head, and it was the opposite, man. I got a lot of really positive responses. There was Ariana does like TikTok stuff, and so she shared those reels on TikTok because I'm not on TikTok, even though I think she created a DGUTS.
Yeah, I see you. I see you there.
I'm not.
I see you on there.
I'm not like.
I see you moving around on there. I see you moving and shaking on there.
I need to because it's where sailors are nowadays. But I'm just like, I'm still getting over my fears of the China spyware stuff. Yeah. But like I guess some chief with a ton of followers like shared them and said they were great and all that. So it's like, it was surprising to me because I expected a backlash for a lot of the things that I say. And even back when I first started criticizing the things that Chiefs Mess does, I mean, I was on active duty for a lot of years doing that and never really got the type of pushback that I always was kind of like casually in fear of. Like, it's not like I cared. Like, if it happens, it happens. I'm not going to change my position or like become bashful all of a sudden. But like, you know, like, I was pleasantly surprised, man. Like, and my suspicion is that the idea that we have about like getting that type of pushback, that generally is like a group mentality. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely an older generation of chiefs that I think are slowly being like breeded out of the system as we do more and more like seasons and just put more and more new blood in the Chiefs Mess. But I think there's a group of them that they might have pushed back if they were on Instagram. You know what I mean? They're like the old folks that aren't paying attention to the platforms that I share this stuff on. So unless another chief shows it to them, they're not going to see it anyway. And so I think that's a big part of it. But also, like, I think that group mentality, it's driven top down from those old crusty dudes or ladies, whatever. And those people don't necessarily see it, but also, like, the majority of individuals seem to agree with me. Like, I've never had a conversation with a chief about any of the stuff that I've said about the Chiefs mess that has been like, well, I passionately disagree with you and I think you're wrong. And I'm open to having that conversation if a person like that exists. Like, I'll talk to anybody about this stuff. And if they want to, like, tell me I'm wrong and stupid for all the reasons, like, okay, let's do it. Like, I'm down.
Yeah.
But nobody ever does. And I think most of it is because the younger chiefs, one, are primarily who's in the audience. Like, I can't think of a single Master Chief that, besides like Paul Kingsbury being a retired dude. But I'm trying to think of like one of my old Cobbs listens. I know that other guy that I just mentioned listens, I think, but he at least pays attention to the social media. So there's people listening that are of that demographic, but they also happen to be in the audience that agrees. But like, I think the majority of the Chiefs that even see my content also happen to be of that demographic. That's the younger generation of Chiefs and senior Chiefs that they just agree with me.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know that my stuff gets to the ears of people that both disagree with me and are willing to be vocal about that disagreement. Cause I'm sure, like, I know for a fact that like Fleets, Forces, McPon are at the bare minimum aware of my podcast. And I can tell you offline why I believe that, but like I'm positive the McPon is at least aware of it. I don't know if he listens. Ariana's convinced he listens, but like, she's like, he's stealing your material. I'm like, no, he's but like, and even if he was, like, thank God. But anyway, like I'm 100% sure he's aware of it. And I know like Fleets and Forces are aware of it, but like if they passionately disagree with me, which I'm not even sure that's true, they're not willing to be vocal about it privately or publicly. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like I think the group of people that would be willing to vocally oppose something that I was saying and actually believe it, like maybe that they're coincidentally also not exposed to what I put out. So like, that's the only explanation I have, besides that I'm just so fucking right about everything that like nobody disagrees with me. Like, I don't think that's true.
Right. Yeah.
I think I'm definitely striking a lot of chords with people and it resonates, but I'm sure everybody doesn't agree 100% with everything I say. But you know, like, I don't know, man. I still to this day, like I've definitely received criticism, especially on Reddit, which is kind of the point. Yeah, that's why I went there in the first place.
People just going there,
like, going in anonymous, and it's like, dude, all right, that's what I'm here for. But yeah, as far as like DMs, emails, stuff like that, like I just don't get a lot of that, man. I don't, and I almost none, and it's over 7 years of doing this. Yeah, and it's bizarre to me. Like, I just get a lot of emails of like overwhelming support, and it's super weird that it never happened. It, like, in my mind, it's super weird. Maybe it makes sense somehow, and it's just my imposter syndrome or whatever. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, but I was gonna ask you too. Like, since you're at a new command now, it's a sea duty. Those people don't all know you like your last command. So like, how's it been for you being effectively like a public figure inside the lifelines of the Navy at like the new command? Like, how has there been any like weird interactions and stuff?
So when I got to my ship, I had a young sailor like the first day. He like, seeing, I know who you are. You the dude with the podcast, right? And I'm like, yeah, you know. And then some other seller was like, he was, you know, he discovered us on TikTok, and he was telling this other dude, he was like, yeah, senior, man, he got a podcast, man. And the dude was like, what it's about? And he was like, oh, it's about Navy stuff. And the dude was like, oh, okay. I was like, hey, man, don't do my podcast like that. I said, don't do my podcast like that. Like, give it some more sauce, man. Like, you like, this ain't it. Like, you know, let's do better than that, man. Don't do that to him, man. You know, so, you know, we kind of talked through it. I was here in the barracks. I was in the barracks in the elevator one day. And it's crazy because I was doing the barracks. I was actually the RA that day. And the seller walked in,
Yeah.
and I'm like, hey, I need to see your ID and your room key card, right? Because I got to do my job.
Yeah.
You know, and the seller,
Right.
he gave me the ID. I was like, cool, I need your room key card, man. You know, he gave me the key card. And then I get in the elevator with him, and I'm like, man, this dude probably don't want me to be in the elevator with him, as I just kind of held him to the standard. And then he was like, what floor are you going to? I told him the floor, and then he's like, hey, I think I know you from somewhere. See, I was like, for real? He was like, you do like, he's like, you on TikTok, man? And it's TikTok that kind of got the young sellers knowing who we are.
That's why I need to get on it, man. I'm putting off the inevitable because it's like that's where they are now.
Yeah,
right?
bro.
Like,
and I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, I knew who you were. But then on the other token, on the other side of the coin, I always get nervous when like another chief or somebody that might know about the pod, they tell somebody like the CMC, like, hey, this dude got a podcast. I'm like, oh shit,
right?
Like, oh shit. Hey, what's the name of it, man? It's called Permission to Speak Free.
Yeah,
oh, I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah.
And then they come back. They come back on like Monday or something. They like, hey, bro, I listened to your podcast, man. I listened to the one episode. And I'm like, okay, what'd you think? Oh man, it's fucking good, bro. And I guess
you're not yelling at me, so
and I guess it's like with my EDMC, for instance, like he already listened to your podcast, so he found out I had a podcast from like Facebook or something. So, but he went to our episode first on your podcast. He went to our episode first on your podcast. Then he went and listened to. He started listening to Permission to Speak Freely, and so it's good, man. I wouldn't say so. The one thing that the one thing I would never call myself though is like a social media influencer. Like I would never say that. We do reels and shit like that, but I'm a senior chief who, when I was a chief, felt the need to like speak to people in a more unfiltered forum of having a conversation. And I had a friend that was happy enough and willing enough to do this with me. And we just decided to turn mics on without video. Well, we did. No, we always have video, but without like reels and TikTok and all that shit. Like we just decided to turn mics on and like talk in a way that we could connect to the sellers. Honestly, in a way that I felt like the gates of the Chiefs mess wasn't letting us do. Like, because in the mess, we needed buy-in from the whole mess to have certain conversations. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just turn on mics and like, let's have these conversations then. And Damo, Damo was like, and that is that. Now, before I came to my new command, I was getting a midterm debrief, and the people that was debriefing me was like, "Oh man, you're going on a carrier, man. You got to be careful. You got this podcast. You got to be there's a politics with it, man." And I told them, I'm like, at this point, if I had to choose between like the podcast and like anything else, it kind of got to be the podcast, because professionally, like what my intentions are, and that's like to lead sellers to influence by just being like transparent and shit like that. Those wickets I'm hitting with the podcast. Personally,
well, and you're probably making a bigger impact.
Than you would ever.
Weird as that seems, than you ever can as just a senior chief on the deck plate, because it's like the reach and like it's like a force multiplier, because they can access your content whenever they want, and you could be sleeping.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, and there's like hundreds of hours. Like, dude, I think I'm in like thousands of hours at this point. And so it's just like, but I don't have to be physically present. You don't have to be taking up my attention and bandwidth directly. Like it just, that was for me. Like, I think one of the reasons that helped me feel good about retiring was I felt like I could make more of a difference doing this than I could by staying on active duty.
Like I'm already doing, like you're doing, like you were doing the work that you're passionate about, so then on the personal side of the house, for me, I went to school for all this shit. So in my personal life, this is already a passion of mine as a person. Like I would be doing something in this realm, even if it wasn't a military. I wasn't even going to do the military pod. Permission to Speak Freely was like a tester pod. Like we were going to do like 7 episodes, talk about some military stuff. And just, I was going to go on with my other friends and do like a civilian podcast. But it just the way life kind of happened, so it meets. And then my wife is the kind of person that's 100% okay with me doing whatever it is that gives me like energy and makes me like happy, and that keeps me driven. And she knows that me coming on, and like I was telling Damon, I was like, hey man, I'm doing DGUTS next week, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, because normally Damon like, hey, whenever you do a pod, like, oh man, I'm about to talk to these podcasters too, bro. So when I'm about to talk to them in 1 second, man, like it's all love, but I got to talk to them. But Damon, like, man, if you do a pod, I'm doing a pod, you know? And I'm like, yo, Damon, we can't. It's me, you, and Tish now. We can't do everything together, man. So I told him, we were like mid-pod. I'm like, hey, Damon, I'm doing DGUTS next week, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he, you know, he's somewhere in Hawaii doing whatever it is he does. But
you know his internet connection sucks too.
Yeah,
so
you see, we ain't had no
bullshit.
Tisha internet connection is the worst, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did a pod yesterday. It took us an hour for Tisha to get right. She had to change rooms, cameras, everything. But hey, to the military podcasters that I know, listen, love y'all to death. When y'all gonna get us on an episode, man? Like I feel like Permission to Speak Freely ain't been on nobody podcast in about a year, man. We coming up on a year, and I honestly, bro. Honestly, I mean, I don't know what it is, bro. I don't know if it's what part of
dude. I've done you. Yeah, I've done John Rennie. I've done Jeff Bayless, Paul Kingsbury. But like even then, like Jeff's taking a break from podcasting to focus on like just himself and his family. Paul is intermittent, like because he works full time and has kids and stuff. So like he does Cutlass, but he seems like he goes in spurts.
Yeah, yep.
Where he's like on fire about it and has stuff to say, but then he just gets busy. So like those guys aren't even like doing it all the time anymore. Like Jeff was super consistent for a long time, but then he just recently stopped. Yeah. But and then you guys are consistent, but like. I know there's other ones out there. Don't get me wrong, but
man.
like, I mean, like, I don't get invited on
like,
all those.
Like,
either.
why not?
It's like, I'm not saying I'd go on all of them, but like they don't come for me either. And I wonder if it's because of how we do what we do. You know what I mean? Like when you're standing back looking at military podcasts or veteran podcasts, it's like, I guess we're all in the same lane, but we're not really doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you and I and Damon and Tish now are doing the same thing as some of these other military podcasts that are just like in it for the grift or the likes or the whatever, you know, like the attention it gets them, or some of them get access to people because they're like pseudo official. So they like got the McPon on, or they got who, and it's like, okay, but like, what are we gaining if you're going to, like if I was going to bring the McPon on or a fleet or whatever and just throw them softball questions, like what value does that add for anybody? Like it's essentially just another McPon all hands call, which I don't need to listen to a podcast for.
Yeah, bro.
So it's like, that's why you've never seen anybody like that on this podcast. And it's not because they haven't asked. It's because they're not willing to have the type of conversation that I want to have.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, well, you know, I'm honest about it up front. And I even told them like, look, we can do it. And I'm going to push you, and I'm going to ask you hard questions. And then I will send you and legal and PAO and whoever, I'll send you the audio file, and you can flag the issues that you want me to edit out. And if I end up with 30 minutes of word salad, I just won't publish it. Yeah. So there's like a safety net there. Like, but I'm not going to just let you come on and spew, you know, a bunch of like word salad non-answers and then put that out there as like, it's going to add some value to my listeners. It's because it's not. And so like, that's why you've never seen a McPon or like a active duty fleet or whatever, because none of them are willing to have those conversations to my knowledge. And if I'm wrong about that, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm happy to talk. Scotty Sikorsky, like, I'm a fan, dog. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
he's pretty,
come on
the
podcast.
Cool. Yeah.
I like that dude. So like, if he wants to come on, great. But it's like, I get it too. Like I have a like low key suspicion, like tinfoil hat time. Like, I think I have a low key suspicion that I'm almost like blackballed in some type of way where they're like this isn't the guy that we want to like hitch our wagon to and like be having these conversations with. And I could be wrong, but like I have this suspicion that like they don't like me very much in those circles. And so it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, but it's
fine. I don't need that.
It's a good conversation to have no matter what. Yeah, like you gotta agree. Like a lot of what you're saying is is critical, but it's critical in a sense like for instance, like somebody might be giving somebody right now I'm presenting the problem and I got some ways of solution areas or whatever. What you're presenting is the utopian solution. That like all I'm saying is how are we gonna get from here to where you want us to be, and can you give us a more defined version of like how to travel from here to where you want us to be?
But then it's gonna evolve from that to me pushing them on actual like detail and a plan, and then when they give me a bad plan, I'm gonna tell them it's a bad plan.
Like that don't make sense.
Like but like, just be willing to push back and tell me, no, actually, it's a good plan and here's why. And it's like, maybe I'll agree, maybe I won't. And it's neither here nor there. It's just a productive conversation that like the listeners will get to hear me ask the hard questions that they want the answer to. And then they'll get an answer, whether or not it's good or bad. It depends. And I'll hold them accountable to those answers and what value, if any, they have. And then they can then provide more detail. And that's why the long form conversations are so important. But it's like, as far as I can tell, nobody's willing to have them. So it's like, okay, like we don't have to, like, and it's very telling to me that they don't want to. And I know some of that's probably an old school mentality where they're concerned about, like how it would be perceived by the people in their orbit, like how like a fleet's admiral would perceive it. And all those fleets probably want to be MCPON. So it's like, there's that in the back of their mind. And the MCPON doesn't want to be on the cover of the Navy Times. And so it's like, I get it, man. Like nobody wants to be the person generating negative headlines. But at the same time, it's like, I will give you the safety net. Like I'll give you a ripcord of, I will send you the raw audio file and you can flag whatever you want edited out. And if it edits down to something that I don't think adds values to my listeners, I just won't publish it. And we just had this conversation and it was for the benefit of the two of us. Yeah. And it's like, and they probably don't trust that. They're like,
what's crazy?
Tell them not to publish it.
You know what's crazy though? Before I tell you that though, hey, for the military potters, man, that some of y'all were inspired by DGUTS. Y'all started y'all pod because y'all listened to DGUTS. Some of y'all was inspired. Some of y'all was inspired by some people. Hit us up, man. Do some pods, man. Let's do some collabs, man. I don't care if you got 3 listeners. I'm always
down, but
I don't care if you got 3 listeners. Bring us on. Let's have some fun conversation. Let's talk. Let's drive some.
For real.
Let's drive.
And like, I'm the same way. I don't know where you guys were at when I first brought you on, but like, I feel like you guys were pretty fresh.
We were starting out, bro.
I listened to it. I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome. Like, I'll bring them on. And it's like, I'm the same way. Like, if you have 3 listeners, but like your heart's in the right place and you're trying to do a good thing, I'll bring you on. And I mean, like, if you need any proof of that, Ariana and Desiree like started from complete scratch, but I published their podcast. So it's like, no, really, I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, like, we were like really like just starting out. But what I want to say was like what you were just talking about. I think some of these dudes, and I'm not speaking on like the MCPON or anybody, but I think some of these dudes, when they get to a certain position, man, I think they have a turn on and turn off. And I'm not even saying it's like being fake. I think they have a certain conversation like at home with your wife that they just don't even have publicly anymore. Like you just don't. Now I actually had a chance to meet the MCPON. Like I walked around, I like took him around my base, and it was just me, him, and his aide. And we talked about a lot of stuff, I actually asked him about the
I heard he's
I asked him about the Reddit thing. Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah. We were stationed together.
He's a great dude.
Yeah, and and a lot of what you're saying about leadership and competence, he had a conversation in regard to that about like the St. Croix, and I talked about it on my pod, but he talked about like St. Croix, like the sparkling water that like says that it's grapefruit. It's marketed as grapefruit. The can looks great and says it's grapefruit, but when you taste it, you don't taste no fucking grapefruit at all.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about. And that's a lot of what you're saying is what he was saying in that analogy, just, in a different light. Well, that's how I received it. You know what I'm saying? And I think he would want people to know. And reading his letters and seeing what his initiatives are now, everything to me line up to that St. Croix conversation, but outside of him, I think a lot of like people get in this space of leadership where they turn on a certain talking format for conversation based because you're being like the president, for instance, like I'm being analyzed. Right. Everything I say is going to be analyzed. So turn on, right? You ever?
Well, and a lot of it's taken out of context too, and it's like, so I understand the fear. Like Russ Smith's infamous all hands call on the G-Dub, like a lot of what he said was taken wildly out of context. I also understand why it was taken out of context, like why people were interpreting it that way, and that it was parts of it were fair, but like, yeah, man, and like when it gets to like them speaking that way, I would argue that like the memos and all that stuff that he released are him speaking in that type of language that you're talking about. And like he was, that setting was turned on and he filtered out a lot of what he probably said to you in private in the memos. Like it's very vague and cushioned. Like he does make mentions of competence and like, we can't let Chiefs perform at a substandard level. And just like, he's got little pieces in there, but they're really mild and vague. And so it's like that to me is that filter. Like he's filtering that, like what he really means out because he wants to like cushion the blow and avoid that type of scrutiny. And it's like,
and it's less effective than long form. It's less effective. Yeah. That shit, for anybody listening, whoever you are, doing that shit is less effective than long form content because you don't have that person to be like, oh, what you mean by that? Like what you do? Me and Damon do that a lot. Like Damon is more Damon is more the like Kool-Aid Navy gung ho Kool-Aid. He came in those years. So he might say something, 24/7 I'm listening. And I'm like, fuck you mean 24? Like, let's talk about this a little bit, Damon. And he, we talk about it and you kind of see what he means. Like, man, we just had a conversation about mandatory training, right? And I think in the midst of our conversation, a different level of understanding came even to how I initially made the statement. Like, no, I don't mean this. I more so mean it saddens me. But when you get those blanket statements that's just supposed to, they get left up to interpretation. And that's what you were meaning by like, somebody could take, if I'm like, hey, I'm the guy over this mental health thing. Let me just make this, let me just make the decision and make the call. I could do something very detrimental to my seller because I think that I know what the hell I'm doing.
Yep. That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
100%, dude. You nailed it. Yeah, man. I fear for our future in a lot of ways, but like, I also like, I have a lot of hope too, though. Like I wrote that in a lot of charges this year of like, and even like you might have seen the social media post where I tagged a bunch of people that made Chief that I know personally, but like, I just, the group of people that I know personally, and then there's at least half a dozen that have contacted me via the podcast. It fills me with a lot of like hope and promise for the future, knowing that they're going to be the people who have the future of Chiefs mess in their hands. It's like the quality of people that I'm interacting with that got selected this year. It's just insane. Like they're so good that I'm trying to like be glasses half full and in my head think that like, well, if I know a dozen Chief selects that are all just like fucking incredible people that are going to just be amazing Chiefs.
Yeah.
It stands to reason there's a lot more in this like generation of Chiefs that just got selected in this class or whatever. It's like stands to reason that a lot more of them are like this than I might have previously believed, So it's like, I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm right because if I am, I think the future is really bright. It's just going to take a while for that, you know, like to breed out those older generations. So
and that's why I sit and I tell them we need y'all. That's why I give them that message. Like, we need you. like you come in here trying to get charges for me. Like, I'm happy you're here because we need you. Come contribute right now. Come help us out. That shit you said you were bringing is based off of your perception. You said you was bringing some people like, oh, I'm bringing more diversity to Chiefs mess. Oh, you are? You bringing diversity? If you
look around the room, bro.
If you perceive that this shit wasn't diverse, then come bring your diversity. We need it. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, man.
Yeah. Any save rounds or alibis, man? You ready to wrap this thing up?
Man, yo, I mean, I feel like, man, we always get talk.
We could just go forever, but
yeah, I just, like I said, man, for all, it's a lot of people that listen to these podcasts, and you know, they get inspired to do stuff and like that. Like I said, even if you got like 2 fucking listeners, man, hit us up, man. I know, hit me and Damon up, sure. and you know, DGUTS and everybody, man. Like, let's have these conversations, man. Let's talk about it. And another big thing is this: like, don't take every piece of criticism like a negative thing, man. Like, you gotta weed out. You gotta weed, and I tell the selects this too. You gotta weed out who you really know that really cares and want to make this shit better. Yeah. You know, I'm on the Needs of the Navy TikTok, right? Watching, I watch it, like, and I'm like, yo, she gives a fuck. Like, they giving her shit, you know, Needs about it. And
have to check that out.
That's your girl. That's Ariana.
Is it Christina?
No, that's Ariana.
Oh, that's Ariana.
Yeah, Ariana. That's Ariana. That's her TikTok. Needs of the Navy.
She's probably told me that.
Yeah, and they kill it. They killing her, man. They like, you know, like not everybody, but some people like, well, it's like, yo, bro, if you care and you see that she cares too, DM her, figure out how to make these visions fucking collide and make shit better. Because if it's one thing I know from looking at, her TikTok, she cares. She wants shit to be better.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
A lot of Chiefs get caught up.
She's getting hell during the Chiefs season.
No. From her mess.
Yeah. I told her going in, I'm like, are you sure you want to do this before you make Chief? Because like, I'm down, but like, because her being Sailor of the Year and all that, like, kind of knew she was going to make Chief. Like, I mean, obviously there's always like a maybe she doesn't for some reason, but like, I reviewed her record and I'm like, bro, like, you're going to make Chief. And yeah, so like I was trying to warn her about certain things and she just is like, fucking YOLO. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm doing it. Scorched earth. And I'm like, all right. Like, I mean, I had to talk her down from doing a podcast about her experience during the Chiefs season before it was even over. I'm like, look, I know you have opinions, but let your mess do their thing first.
Yeah, you gotta let that
right. Like, and then at the end, one looking back post pinning, if you still think some of the experiences deserve to have a critical conversation, then we'll do it. I mean, I want to do it anyway, just to have a conversation about the journey and how it evolved and how she interacted with it and all that. But like, yeah, she's always ready to go in, and it's like, you got to slow down and analyze this stuff and let the process happen before you make a judgment on it, because your mess might surprise you. And so it's like, and she's been doing that now, and that's why you don't see her as much on social media and stuff. Yeah, she's trying to like actually give it a chance. Yeah. And it's, you know, I feel like a lot of selects find themselves in that place this year, because I think, like you said, we're in this weird like transition. Like, we're in like, there's like this imbalance where you got all these newer generations coming in, and the older generations are becoming the minority, but they're also very much
standing out,
like in opposition to the new generation.
And the new generation just be looking like, shit. Okay, here they go. Like, he on the soapbox.
Okay, I guess.
But, the other last thing is for the social media influencers, man, you know, and I feel like we exist in that world a little bit, you know, just because you're on social media, but just be pure, man. Recently, an influencer hit me up to do the pod, like, and then started talking about fees and money, and I'm not paying nobody to be on my podcast.
I don't understand. Yeah, somebody tried to do that to me once, where they like wanted to charge me or something, and I'm like, I don't even want. You contacted me. I didn't even want to be on your podcast.
We might have to offline
talk about me paying you money.
Might be the same person. We might have to talk about it offline.
Maybe.
Yeah,
that's
man,
hilarious.
and I respect the hustle and all that stuff, but like I don't need that. Like we like this pure conversations. Nope. We want to drive this. We want to help people, help sellers and stuff like that. Yeah. And for y'all that is doing it like that right now and that started, and I think you had this conversation with us a long time ago. You know, when we first. Just keep a pure heart, yo. Just keep a pure heart and do it for the right reasons. When you start to realize, oh shit, I got, like, for instance, like we put a clip out, man, on TikTok, and it got a whole lot of views. And then Damon, you know, and not for no bad reason, but Damon was like, hey, you think we should start doing more clips like this? And I was like, no. I'm like, no.
Nope.
because it's not pure.
Keep doing what you do.
Yeah, it wouldn't be pure. It's forced.
That's exactly.
We feeding the people.
That's how I felt about it. Like I was putting out all those interviews for a long time, and I don't know why I got caught up in that, but I got to this point where I almost like felt like I was going through the motions, and I like didn't want to do I wasn't motivated to do the podcast.
Yeah, I listened to that.
And so then I was like, well, like I love the podcast. Like I love doing this though. I'm like, well, why do I love doing this? Like, what was the point at the beginning? And that was why I came out with that, like, I want to refocus and do more solo stuff, do more educational stuff. Cause that was the point. And I'm not saying like interviews don't have value. Us having these discussions definitely have value, but like, it can't be everything either. Like I need to present educational tools. I need to present like topics. I need to have my own like stream of consciousness type analysis of something that's going on. I like doing the spin the yarns where I'm like talking through a scenario that a listener sent to me and giving them advice. And then that could basically be like another sailor that has experienced something similarly can listen. And it's like almost like they're being counseled by their chief. And it's like, so like that stuff is educational. So like I wanted to refocus and do more of that, because that's what I like set out to do in the first place. And that's why I enjoyed it so much. And I think that's what a lot of the listeners are kind of come here for. So it's like, if I'm just talking to people,
they come to learn from you. They come to learn something. Man. And, I appreciate being invited here. I appreciate coming on. As always, I was
invitation, man.
I was nervous. I was a little nervous, man. It's like, no, let me stop. I was just joking. I wasn't nervous.
You ain't nervous. Shut up. I was gonna say, man, you've been on a bunch of times.
Yeah, man. But it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. I'm always a fan. I'm always listening. I'm always taking something away from your pods. I had somebody hit me up because of one of your pods before, man. I thought I was getting in trouble. Yeah, man. Somebody he was like, hey, I'll tell you who it was offline. But they was like, hey, like, they was like, everything okay? Yeah, I have reposted one of your clips, and you going off, man. The CO charge of a CO or whatever, right? You going off, man. Charge of command.
Open letter to commanders.
I got hit up, man.
Going in on COs.
I got hit up. They're like, you good? Everything good? I'm like, I'm good, man. He's like, I just try to figure out why are you so upset in the morning. I was like, hey, bro, that was DGUTS. That wasn't me. That's DGUTS.
That was me.
Yeah, man. But
and that was that podcast. I was so pissed.
Yeah,
the video ate itself. I don't know what happened, but like the video was like, it was like a freeze frame of me, and then like it'd go like 20 seconds and then there'd be a new frame, and I like, but it wasn't video and I couldn't fix it. I went all over the internet trying to fix it. So all those like clips were like Ariana put them together somehow with like images and stuff. And so like that was why my face, like it wasn't a video like my normal reels are, because like something glitched. It's not on YouTube either because I don't have the video, unfortunately. But yeah, I was mad because like I'm like, those clips probably would have done better if it was actual like video of me talking, because I was lit that day. I was so pissed. Man. And to the Discorders, man, our logos look alike. I see everything. Our logos do look alike. I don't know how they look alike, but they just happen to look alike. They blue circles. You know. That's all, man. That's with white writing.
Blue circles with white writing, man. Our shit look alike, y'all. I promise I ain't look at his and make mine and nothing like that. Just happen to look like y'all. We hired a professional. Just happen to look like. Who knows?
I did too. Like I designed all my T-shirt and stickers and everything, but like the actual logo, I hadn't retaught myself like Illustrator and stuff yet. So that I paid somebody to do that on Fiverr. So
same thing. Always a pleasure.
Well, thanks for doing this. Open invitation as always. You can come back whenever you want, sir. So thanks.
All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Like I said in the intro, like I always have a great time talking to Damo. You'll definitely see him again. I basically told him, I mean, I mentioned it at the end of the recording, but then even after the fact, I'm like, dude, just keep the link to my scheduling thing. And just like anytime you want to come on, you don't even got to ask, just sign up. Just sign up for an open date and we'll do it, because I have so much fun talking to him. If you're not already familiar, go check out the Permission to Speak Freely podcast. They call it PTSF as well, so you might see that like on their PTSF podcast, I think is their Instagram, stuff like that. I'll put it all in the show notes, and I'll tag them in the Instagram posts and stuff. But yeah, go check out their podcast. They do a lot of really cool stuff. They're on YouTube as well, so you can get it anywhere you get podcasts, but then you can go follow their YouTube channel as well and watch the podcast there. But him and Damon and now Tish is involved too, pretty regularly. I don't know if she's always on, but pretty regularly she's on as well. And yeah, they have guests. Sometimes they just chop it up about whatever's going on in their lives or in the Navy or both, because they're kind of the same thing, or the current events. They do this cool hero series, and just like it's a dope podcast. I highly recommend checking them out and following them and supporting them in any way that you can, because like I love to see like another person or people or group doing this same kind of thing in the similar lane. And doing well. So like they're awesome dudes. Tish is dope. Go check the podcast out. If you want to support us, you can do so by going to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button in the upper right hand corner of the website, or you can go to Don't Give Up the Ship Apparel. It's dgutspodcast.com. Get yourself some naval pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We've got stickers and shower shoes, stickers, shower shoes, bags, shirts, hoodies, all the things that you would expect to see, and more to come. That's a great way to support us. Or you can go to DGUTS, or you can go to patreon.com/DGUTS and become a patron today. We have 5 tiers with a bunch of cool benefits, and it's an amazing way to support the platform, and helps us pay the bills and expand the platform and do all the cool things that we want to do. I may or may not be writing a book right now. More to follow. It's allowing us to do everything that we want to do. To expand the platform and just make more good resources for all of you. So if you can support us in those ways, great. If you can't afford to spend the money, no worries. Just do all the things you know how to do on the internet. Like go to all the podcast platforms and review us and follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube, share the videos, share the podcast, tag your friends, share the social media posts, whatever. Follow us on Instagram, all that crap. Anything you can do on any of those things to leverage the algorithms to help amplify the message is support. And we really, really appreciate that. It doesn't cost you a dime. It just costs you a couple of thumb movements or something. So we really appreciate anything you can do, including just listening. And that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, shout out to all our level 5 patrons, Victoria Livingood, William McIver, and Mark Gallegos. To all our other patrons, we really appreciate your support. Helps to pay all the bills, expand the platform, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.